And we are back once again.
We
The
are
show
back.
that never ends. Yeah.
No, well, the book ends
Eventually.
in a
at some
bang.
point.
Some would say.
In a bit, not a whimper, not a whimper. And some would say Timothy McVeigh is out there somewhere, having had his body double executed rather than himself, riding away into the sunset.
Yep,
Strangling Jeffrey Epstein in his jail cell. Who knows?
hanging out with the crew of the Challenger that did not die on that spaceship explosion.
They just blew up the spaceship explosion. All right. So Ryan Gosling and who is not here, but will get his.
We'll make sure to have plenty of Asian wife jokes for Ryan Gosling and who could not be with us tonight.
It will happen. It will happen. And EL, thank you for defending my wife's honor. She said, "Your family be very proud." So, let's see. A few.
I'm not going to let you get away with what you said in the green room, I guess we have, because we're together in a actual recording.
I'll give you a little preview. I'm working on a little something. I'm working on a little something involving the John Norman Gore books, because I am a Gore accelerationist. I think the sooner we I think the sooner we remove the majority of women from the workforce, the better we'll be.
Well, they'll be doing a different kind of work.
They'll be doing a different kind. They'll be working it. You know what I mean? And it's not so much sex slavery as it is a voluntary total power exchange. But it's kind of slavery. Anyway, but my point is that John Norman, the author of those books, in my research, I found that he wrote a book, a different book, not in the same world, called Time Slave. So he's got a thing. And in Time Slave, essentially, the protagonist goes back in time to the dawn of humanity in order to selectively breed consciousness into mankind, which is getting, and I haven't read it, so I can't fully tell you. I haven't read Time Slave, but it's getting dangerously close to the thesis of Costin Alamariu's selective breeding and the birth of philosophy. So I'm not saying there was plagiarism. I'm not making that accusation.
Could you imagine if
Could
you imagine if the entire online right was just the brainchild of John Norman?
He was secretly the mastermind. He was
Satoshi.
He was the wizard behind the curtain. It was John Norman the whole time. That guy's old as shit. You know, he could have. The Gore books have been going on for more than 50 years.
It'd be like the last Gore book is like, Gore goes to the supermarket and just has a regular normal day. And
Gore, the character Gore from the Gore books, that's a thing that doesn't exist. But I'm glad
I haven't read them yet.
I'm glad you're so innocent.
I've got the first one right here. The Tarnsman of Gore.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm looking at it right on my shelf.
It's a worthy read. If you're going to read any of the Gore books, you should read the first 7. Really, the first 3 are fine, and then if you want to expand, first 7, and then if you're fucking insane, you can go on and read the other 31 books in the series, which I am having to do for my project. But I'll figure out how long this takes me. I thought I was going to be able to get it done by May, and it really, really looks like that is not going to happen because some of the later books are in excess of 700 pages. And that is going to take a lot of time. I'm pretty sure that I would have to read more than 300 pages a day from now until I mean, I don't know. Maybe I haven't counted them up. I'm going to do a spreadsheet tomorrow. I'm going to see if it's possible. But there's a big thing. There's a big premium experience coming from from Capitalisimo regarding the gore books.
Wow.
I'm going to make gore. No, it's so much more effort than a post. I am going to make gore accelerationism real. And so, but
he talks to Catherine D once and suddenly.
No, actually, she was on Drive Time Movie Night last week, and we watched the gore film, which is terrible, really awful, like execrable. There are so many better sword and sandal films made in the 80s. You should definitely not watch that particular movie. There are even better ones about like the Conan movies, or let's see, Deathstalker has better female slavery than the gore movie, which means they really missed the mark. But I will say the leading lady of Gore 1987 is a Italian bombshell. She was hot as shit. Really chef's kiss. I would. She's a spicy meatball.
She's a real Mickey McVeigh.
She could real Mickey McVeigh, dude. Real Mickey McVeigh. But enough about gore. Let's get into the other kind of gore. The federal assault on Ruby Ridge, which we left off on last week. Kind of got it right after the son, Sammy Weaver, was murdered by, well, not Lon Horiuchi, a different guy. Actually, I don't think we know who killed him. I don't think we know who killed Sammy Weaver. No one ever owned up to it. But do you have anything before we get started with the night's read, Hudson?
I'm just gonna shill at the top here. Double Dealer magazine has been selling like hotcakes recently. So thank you, Al Gore at Ruby Ridge. Thank you, EL. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So pick up a copy of the Double Dealer, issue 14, forthcoming as soon as we read through all the submissions that you find people have given us. And yeah, just doing really well. Appreciate you all.
You're up to your 5th issue. That's pretty good. Or I guess for what, 6th issue if you count the specials. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Single. What is mating pressing?
So it's this thing where the guy is on top but also sort of behind, and she's like sort of resting on her neck and shoulders, and her business is pointed basically straight up, and her knees are next to her ears, and you're just kind of hammering it like in sort of a squatting kind of.
I see. Okay, so it's like a Derek Chauvin.
She can't do anything. No. It's totally not.
Can she
Derek
breathe?
Chauvin. I mean, if you do it right, no.
Well, thank you, Single. I mean, once we receive the money, you can do whatever you want to it, I suppose.
Yep. Let's see. No, actually, Gabe, the full Nelson is when is close to what Daniel Penny did to that innocent Michael Jackson impersonator.
Jordan Neely, say his name.
Jordan Neely, say his name. I think we should center Daniel Penny as the hero in the narrative.
That's pretty subversive of you, Cap, to say that the guy who did nothing wrong is the hero.
Yes, it's so subversive for me to agree with a jury of his peers.
What are those idiots now?
Yep. So, all right. Let's.
I'm not gonna let Gabe tell me what these things are. A mating press is not compatible with the. Oh, actually, it kind of is. It kind of is if she's got some like really wild pelvic
and ankle flexibility. But it's not super easy to do, I would think.
Boy, the
So.
Far East has some weird stuff that you've discovered, Cap.
Yes, the Far East.
I need to get a soundboard, and every time I mention that you're in an interracial marriage, just the gong.
Oh, you're not going to do the
No. I'm not that cheesy. Just a gong, just something tasteful.
A gong would be great. Actually, a gong it's a great sound. Everybody likes a gong.
Yeah. I remember the old Unpopular Opinions shows. You'd have Mr. D with the gong.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Unpopular opinions. Apparently D never got paid for those. That's a shame. A shame.
Yeah.
In fact, he was kind of released from Samsara.
Yeah, well, that's like our friend of the show, Gio, when he was on Follow the Rules.
I literally don't know anything about Gio's history pre-DA, actually.
Yeah, so Gio was on a sensible centrist, well, like an actual centrist podcast debate platform called Break the Rules.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the wholesome Chungus right winger on the show,
just like he always is. Yes,
exactly. And yeah, he brought a lot of life to that show, and he was never compensated for it. And then he apparently his services were no longer needed.
And then they cut him loose. They broke the rules.
Yeah. The rules were actually could not be more leashed. Actually,
that's unfortunate. He does not have have particularly spicy takes.
He's the hardest working Canadian in show business.
He is the only working Canadian in show business.
No, there's
so many. There's so many, and also, yes, of course.
Technically, Dave Green is now a Canadian.
Well, he touched the magic soil, so he's a Canadian now. And of course, there are many famous Canadian shit.
Marshall McLuhan
who work. Was he? I wasn't aware.
Marshall McLuhan, yeah, definitely a Canadian.
There's an Art of Dark podcast about Marshall McLuhan coming out, and I am not a Patreon subscriber to them, and so I have not heard it yet. I am really waiting for it to come out on the pleb stream in Spotify, but I am stoked for that. I'm just
the spiritual father to my other podcast, Cannon Fodder, Art of Darkness.
How? You don't do biographies?
Well, no, just because they talk about literature, and I was like, oh, I could do that, but like kind of worse.
Yeah, it is worse. I mean, Sidebar is worse than Art of Dark too. But
Sidebar. I mean, yeah, but you guys have like 5 listeners, so it's fine.
Nice.
Really, I'm carrying
more than Cannon.
The thing I wished the thing I wished to destroy.
Okay, so let's slide on into it and get on with this clusterfuck that is Ruby Ridge. So we're at the top of the page, and here we go. Unknown to the Weavers or their supporters outside, at some point after Sammy was killed, FBI Director Larry Potts changed the standard rules of engagement protocols for the snipers positioned around the Weaver property, who under normal circumstances could only fire if fired upon. The new rules of engagement, which they already broke that, so then they retroactively changed it. When the new rules of engagement amounted to a military assault style shoot on sight plan. So when Randy, along with his oldest daughter Sarah and Kevin Harris, attempted to collect Sammy's body, FBI sniper Lon Horiuchi shot Randy and then fired at Randy's wife Vicky, who was standing at the door of the cabin holding their 10-month-old daughter Elisheba. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Vicky was hit in the head and died instantly. Weaver, his 3 daughters, and Harris remained in the house with her body for 9 days and accepted the inevitability that, like their mother and Sammy, they too would soon die at the hands of federal agents, says Bangerter. We had just learned they'd killed Vicky and my friends Dave. Joe and I were standing around the creek when about 10 ATF agents came down and stood about 20 feet away from us on the opposite side of the creek. They were so close we could have spit on them. We started yelling at them, calling them pussies, and demanding they put their guns down and come fight us man to man. And then 3 or more agents came down to join them. I will always remember them. There was one with a beard. One had a mustache. One had a weird hat on. They had antennas on their shoulders and ATF jackets. They were holding what looked to be submachine guns. I'm imagining like one of those raver Cat in the Hat hats.
Oh, I was thinking like one of those beanies with a propeller on the top.
On top. It's the guy from Jamiroquai. He's wearing one of those things.
It's one of those drinking hats. And it's just got like FBI on the top.
He's got 2 ears in it, and it says ATF. Yeah, he's got the alcohol in the hat, and he's got like a pack of smokes rolled up in his sleeve, and he's holding a gun.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, it's just he's the ATF guy just because he's always carrying all 3. They had antennas on their shoulders and ATF jackets. They were holding what looked to be submachine guns. Dave kept yelling at them to put down their guns, and they did. First, the blonde guy with a beard started putting his gun down, and then the others put their guns down as if they were going to come fight us. So we took off our shirts and started crossing the creek to fight them. Well, as soon as we got into the middle of the creek, they picked their guns back up and pointed them at us. We started yelling, "You fucking cowards, shoot us, punks." But at the same time, we started backing up because we knew. We thought we were going to get shot to death right there in the middle of the river. These were real guns, and there was a dead kid and his dead mother up on that mountain, and we were actually dealing with these people. We knew they were murderers, and they wouldn't hesitate to kill us too. I could feel it happening. I could feel the bullets going through my chest, and I could feel my heart bleeding. I knew I was dead. I remember kissing my children goodbye in my head. We backed up. I had to change my tactics. That was real blood spilled up there. Those were real people. I had to go into some weird mode after that. I was basically begging and pleading with them, but they had no compassion. None.
Yeah, your tax dollars, everybody.
Your tax dollars. Well, yeah. I mean, none of us, maybe, yeah, none of us at that point. But yeah, the government still does this shit. Like, it just is quieter about it. They were big dicks. They were big dick swinging at Ruby Ridge, and they have kind of learned that they need to have non-governmental intermediaries do all of their dirty work for them.
Oh, aka the guys like Tim McVeigh.
Yeah. Patriot movement leader Bo Gritz. Amazing name.
What is a grit?
It's basically polenta. It's polenta for Protestants.
I'm just quoting my cousin Vinny.
Man, I need to rewatch that. So good.
Such a good film.
So good. That chick who knew all about cars. Great.
Yes, that's Marissa Tomei.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm bad with actresses. Anyway, along with
that, EL, I know women too.
I know women too.
I got binders full of women.
I got binders. It's yeah, you keep your porn printed out. You're scrapbooking, but it's only from copies of Hustler.
They're the actual articles.
It's only the articles though. Yeah, you're cutting the porn out so that you can read just the articles. You can have a book that's only the articles. Exactly. Patriot movement leader Bo Gritz, along with a female assistant, was given permission to go up to the cabin to help clean Vicky's blood off the floor and convince Randy to surrender. While they were there, Randy and his daughter Sarah had a 3-page letter and a tampon and gave it to them. Bangerter said the letter was very detailed. It was something like, first they shot the dog, then they shot Sam, then they shot Vicky.
And they just laid out no one else to shoot.
Yeah, they just laid out in great deal everything that occurred. And I said nothing. Things that we didn't know about yet, things that are still not widely known. It was horrifying. Afterwards, we were convinced that Randy and everybody up at the cabin with him would be murdered. Gritz, convinced of the same, asked Bangerter to write a letter to Randy Weaver and pled with him to surrender. Bangerter agreed, and his letter urged Randy to come down from the cabin with his daughters so they could tell the world what happened to them. He assured Randy that the battle would be fought in court. Weaver listened and, along with his daughters and Kevin Harris, surrendered, bringing the standoff to an end. Stellar really advice. Yeah, stellar advice. Actually, 100% correct. Didn't die. Won the court case. So Yeah.
Bangader is a humanitarian.
Yep.
He saved lives that day.
What happened at Ruby Ridge only confirmed growing suspicions of many on both the left and the right that the U.S. was becoming a police state. Among the radical right, for both the racially minded white power movement and the non-racially minded patriot movement, it was seen as proof that the government was waging war on its own citizens using so-called low-intensity conflict tactics. After Ruby Ridge, alliances between these formerly disparate elements of the extreme right were further solidified as the common enemy of both. The federal government had shown the lengths it would go to suppress dissent. The collective mood of the patriots and racialists, which had been approaching a boiling point, was now fully ignited, and the rhetoric of revolution escalated. In October 1992, a mock trial was held at a patriot meeting in Estes Park, Colorado, where FBI sniper Lon Horiuchi was indicted and a death warrant was issued for him. Many commentators cite the Estes Park meeting as the birth of the militia movement. Lon Horiuchi. Lon Horiuchi, ladies and gentlemen.
And, just in case you guys didn't know, he
was
lived
later
long,
at Waco.
Healthy life.
Yeah, lived a long life. Was an instructor in Quantico and ended up retiring.
Yeah, and those Patriot movement jagoffs did nothing.
Yes. Well, I mean, did they?
No, they did nothing.
Well, not to Lon Horiuchi. Didn't do shit to him.
Or in general, as we will later learn.
Yeah. The Bundy standoff in 2014. Has anything been more memory hold than that? Right? The Clive.
I was Bundy luckily
the other BLM that happened in 2014.
Yeah. Luckily they management. Luckily he brought that up because I was thinking, I was like, we had something similar to that. And I couldn't place it. And look, so thank you, X Guy Extra.
And it's
do you know anything about that, Cap?
I mean, I don't know nearly as much about it as I do Ruby Ridge. I mean, I was paying attention at the time, but as you probably recall, there was a lot going on in 2014. Both there was the Michael Brown rioting, and which was the real birth of the BLM movement, not the Summer of Floyd. And there was also this more than a month-long standoff at a Bureau of Land Management facility with these ranchers led by Clive and Bundy that did end up with a guy getting completely fucking iced by the ATF.
And who is that shooter? Lon
Horiuchi. No,
we need you to come in. We got one last mission for you. I'm retired.
I'm retired.
I don't care if you're tired.
No, I'm retired. I'm retired.
What is with this fake French accent you put on, Lon? What if his name's actually Ron, but people
Ron Horiuchi, but he can't say it?
Ron Horiuchi.
Ron Horiuchi. Yeah. Anyway, where the fuck am I here? Oh yeah. Likewise, federal operations targeting far-right radicals also intensified immediately after Ruby Ridge. Hundreds of recently released but highly redacted FBI PatCon reports warn of the possibility that the deaths at Ruby Ridge would be violently avenged and emphasize the urgent need to expand both the budget and scope of the domestic counterterrorism program to determine the validity of the threat, but also to prevent further working alliances from forming among different radical right-wing groups. Funny how they fuck up, and that is a justification for them to get more money. Funny how that works, isn't it?
Not funny, haha, so much as funny. These are the things I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should stop doing this show. I can just go be a normie. I can forget all this.
You can forget all this. You cannot worry about things. You cannot expose yourself to info hazards. Once red pilled, you cannot. I can.
I can go back. I can go back. I can just wake up.
You can't get back. You can't get back into the Matrix and eat the fucking steak. You can't do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work both ways.
To the FBI agents who are listening to this podcast, I will sell out Cap for a steak.
You can never just grill, bud. You can never just grill again. Yep, it's true. It's true. And to Peter Thiel, thanks for the money. And Hudson's home address and real name are in the mail to you, friend. Peter Thiel doesn't care who we are. It's great. It's great. It's wonderful. Let's see. And indeed, PatCon's budget skyrocketed, and the scope of its mission expanded greatly, both geographically and tactically. PatCon assets and operatives received specific instructions to beef up their operations. Undercover agents and informants posing as ideologically committed revolutionaries within neo-Nazi, patriot, and now militia groups, while expanding their infiltration and sting efforts, sometimes contriving bizarre plots to do so. Bangerter described how his life changed after Ruby Ridge, as the mood and actions of those within his movement escalated, along with the almost absurd methods used to neutralize post-Ruby Ridge radicalism. What happened at Ruby Ridge consumed my life so much. It was all I thought about. I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking about how I wanted to take on government and get revenge. I would have a couple of beers, call the office of Utah Senator Orrin Hatch, and shoot my mouth off. In the end, they were like, this guy is easy. Let's try to get him to bite. I became so paranoid and brushed up against so many sting operations. I just wanted it to go away. It was like a scene out of the most horrible nightmare you can imagine. One agent tried to get our brother and I to get on a plane under fictitious names and fly to San Diego, drive and pick up 500 M1 Garand rifles to take them to the mine in Las Vegas, where 300 Las Vegas skinheads who were supposed to rally there would then use the guns to take the city of Vegas hostage and demand the release of the order from prison. These were the kinds of stings that were proposed.
Wow.
What a fucking stupid plan.
So we're going to take rifles from World War II, and we're going to take over the most
city.
mobbed up city in America.
With 300 people. Yeah. Also, skinheads, and they don't own their own guns. Bring your own fucking gun. We do not need M1 Garands.
But also, only peacefully and patriotically. That's the motto.
It's a ridiculous it's a ridiculous plot because it's something that you would only cook up if you were a Fed and didn't understand the people that you were entrapping.
Well, yeah, right? It's like those guys that kidnapped the Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh yeah, who were they did not kidnap her. They didn't do anything. They were entrapped by the FBI, a completely cooked up thing. In fact, they didn't do it. In fact, they were like, I guess that would be cool. And then they were like, you're planning on doing it. You agreed with all those things that I said.
I was merely pretending to not be a Fed.
Yeah. And then of course they got exonerated. They got fucking exonerated. So, the white power movement was so heavily infiltrated with phonies, wannabes, and federal agents, Holden Caulfield mentioned, as well as from people that, from what I came to know, wouldn't have had a problem killing a little kid. There really were the Buford Furrow types who were willing to go down and shoot up a school of Jewish children. Who is Buford? I don't know who Buford Furrow is.
Yeah, and that didn't get mentioned in.
Wasn't part of Wendy's catalog of her catalog of ships. There, the mixed nuts. Jamie, you want to look up Buford Furrow? See what you find. It is possible that Timothy McVeigh, who monitored the news carefully for developments in the ongoing Ruby Ridge debacle and its murderous conclusion, first heard of Johnny Bangerter around this time. No matter when or how McVeigh heard of him, he would not forget about the loquacious skinhead with the fiery rhetoric. By most accounts, including his own, that's almost like a romance novel line. The
loquacious skinhead.
No matter when or how McVeigh heard of him, he would not forget about the loquacious skinhead with the fiery rhetoric. It's
that's a modern day Tennessee Williams play.
Yeah. Yes. By most accounts, including his own, Ruby Ridge reinforced and fed McVeigh's existing fears, anxieties, and suspicions, leading to a distinct intensification of his ideological expressions. His already alarming rhetoric became even more aggressive. If he had attempted to hide his racism and anti-Semitism in the Army, his efforts at concealment ended after Ruby Ridge. One more incident indicative of the growing pattern of government tyranny, seemingly prophesied in the Turner Diaries. Stuart Wright wrote that the events at Ruby Ridge and later Waco, as well as ongoing military-style raids against gun owners and the passage of federal gun restrictions, became, for McVeigh, part of a single conspiracy leading to inevitable outcome. Yeah.
So yeah, the Los Angeles Jewish Community Center shooting, August 10th, 1999. Yeah, this will need more looking into.
Okay. So it's like its whole
This could be a whole episode on
Okay.
itself.
Okay. Bill
But
McVeigh
He used a Uzi. That's the like.
Wow. Wow. How ironic. Because it's Israeli. That's the
I know.
You know. Bill McVeigh began to believe that his son held radical beliefs, and given his mounting resistance to authority and seeming inability to take orders, feared Timmy would eventually run into big trouble. Timmy's in big trouble.
Bill. Who is, I think, the biggest villain of this book has to be Bill McVeigh and his inability to do anything useful.
Just his ineffectual qualities.
Like, hey, buddy, maybe let's not do that. Shut up, Dad. Okay.
Okay, fine. Hey, Mickey, maybe don't go out so much. Shut up, you limp dick jagoff. Okay, honey. Have fun.
Have fun at the bowling alley.
Have fun at the bowling alley with all your bulls.
Ew.
Yeah. Throughout the summer of 1992, he began to isolate himself, took up gambling, and moved from his father's house to an apartment in Buffalo. He later would explain his move to his attorneys by saying that he was still unable to get any sleep at his father's house. The phone rang constantly with calls for his sister, the new whore, from bookies, and from his employers at Burns.
Yeah, it's weird how bookies always want to get paid.
Yeah. Thus, McVeigh
they're really persistent like that.
They're really persistent. Thus, McVeigh chose not to have a phone installed at his new place, much to the consternation of his father and apparently, probably you would think, his bookies, who now had to field callers attempting to locate his son. The Burns office gave him a pager to carry. According to Bill McVeigh, his son moved out of the house in an attempt to sequester himself from the IRS, to whom he refused to pay taxes, and from the Army, who called the house frequently. Apparently, McVeigh had received an overpayment notification from the Army informing him that Uncle Sam wanted his money back, but McVeigh refused to comply with these demands. The phone calls, said Bill, caused his son to become irate. Now, I don't understand why the IRS would even give a shit, because Timothy McVeigh, as far as we know, has never worked a job that wasn't a W-2, so he would have been subject to regular income tax withholdings. And because he wasn't making a lot of money, those income tax withholdings would have exceeded what he actually owed. So by not filing his taxes, he was just not getting his tax refund. So he was actually overpaying. Just going to point that one out there.
Well, I mean, he clearly he was making a lot more money.
Oh, so much more.
They knew about the bank robberies. They knew.
Oh yes.
It's like you gotta claim those, bud.
You gotta claim your bank robberies, bud.
No, but I was thinking, imagine being a bookie. That's got to be like
the best job.
Yeah, and your kid takes you in for career day. My dad's a bookie.
My dad's a bookie.
He knows all your dads.
He's just like, you have a really nice talk, and then you ask one of the other kids to come with you. It's like, hey, why don't you come with me? It's okay, you teach, right? If we take little Jeremy out of the class here, isn't that right? Yeah, well, I'm just gonna settle up with his dad, but we're gonna go together. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
The kid wants to settle up on like 5 pieces of gum that he's owed.
Yeah. Right.
I learned this from my father.
And he just fucking he takes your action figure and twists its legs backwards. It's like, and there'll be more of that.
Wake
All
up
right.
with a toy horse head in your bed.
A what?
A toy horse,
Oh, a
like
toy horse, like a hobby horse, like
yeah,
you just
yeah,
like broke it off from the broomstick.
yeah.
Ah! It's just a pair of handlebars, yeah, from a bike. The
That's bad.
letters McVeigh continued to drop in Steve's mailbox, not paying for postage either, illustrate the thoughts that consumed him during the Weaver standoff and after its deadly conclusion. Among McVeigh's cornucopia of complaints, another strong Wendy Painting phrase. Buffalo's new mandatory recycling policy was enforceable by imprisonment, workplace sexual harassment policies that made it impossible for him to talk to women. So true, King. His view that Rush Limbaugh was simply too liberal,
So
and his
true.
discovery that shortwave radio shows were being jammed by a government that does not like its message. Man, how badass would it be? You know what I should do? I could actually do this because I have a physical mixer. I could actually feed our show back and broadcast it on a ham radio.
You
I could
should
do
do.
that. How sick would that be?
Yeah, we could be like Art Bell.
Yeah, it'd be great. Man, I'm gonna see how much the parts of that would cost. If it's under like, hey, I'll tell you what.
This
We'll
is what I
see.
wanted to tell you about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to go to the C Crane Company, right?
Okay.
Which is like the company, the radio company that Art always talked about on his show.
Yep.
And I remember, and I was listening to one episode, and they were advertising, and I was like, all right, let's see what they got. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to need any of this ham stuff, but they've probably got some really high quality headphones and stuff like that. They had the shittiest earbuds with like the little felt over them.
Oh yeah. Oh, the really shitty one, like the '90s earbuds.
Exactly. I was like, guys, have you not updated your stock since Art was on the air? Like, what are you doing, C Crane Company?
Yeah,
I
no
was
kidding.
told you were the best.
I was told you were so I don't know. Let's see, long range Wi-Fi receiver system. That's weird. I don't know. I'm looking on their website. I just see like AM, FM, shortwave, and weather radio things. I already have a weather radio. I already have some pocket radios, but they're all Baofungs and they're unbanded, so I can use the bands that they don't make for the citizen radios. But yeah, I gotta look. I'll see what we can do about getting a ham broadcast for Library of Mass Destruction, because it would be really, really thematic, right? Like
I would be so happy if that was the case.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll price it, and you know what we'll do? We'll do it if we get enough. We'll do it if we get enough super chats for it. So
yeah, we'll have a look. Okay,
sneed those super chats so that we could be broadcast on ham radio, and you can.
We'll have a little percentage bar at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, we can do that. We can actually do that. We'll find out. It's like that. It's the money printer sound. It makes the same sound as an A10 Warthog, or Thunderbolt.
Just as devastating.
Just as devastating. Can you imagine the kind of like 80-year-old ham radio boomers who would get radicalized by listening to LMD? It's like, what is this? What is
Ruby
this?
Ridge?
Yep.
I was there. I'm Lon Horiuchi.
Lon Horiuchi's listening. I would have Lon Horiuchi on. I'd ask him how he felt about shooting a woman holding a baby, and all the other people at
he was probably aiming for
Waco.
the baby, the sick bastard.
He was like, I felt pretty bad. I missed that baby. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have Lon Horiuchi on. It's been long enough.
Is he friend of the show?
No, he's just a notable figure of the show.
Known for other work.
Known for his other work.
Can you imagine that he's like a painter now?
Oh yeah, he just does portraits of the people he killed. They haunt
I call
him.
This one Vicky.
And this one Vicky. And this one Vicky. And this one Vicky.
This one is called Branch Davidian number 4.
Never learned the name of that one.
He got burned up.
In one letter, he demanded that Steve stop calling his father's house looking for him, and then went on to discuss Jews, gays, announce his disbelief in the Holocaust, and berate his old friend for his liberal political beliefs. He urged Steve to read 1984 and warned of an impending Brave New World wherein Big Brother would force the races to mix and imprison those who held subversive ideologies.
This now we might this is all we're reading a book, Cap, but we don't want to get the stream taken down.
Yeah.
So perhaps we use a little bit of spycraft and skullduggery.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I skipped one word, and there's probably going to be two more in this quote block here, I'm guessing. So we'll see what we can do. All right. You don't realize it, but you've been brainwashed to lock out all facts as soon as you hear the word coastal elite. Let's talk about the super price chopper sale. 6 million coastal elite insisted to have been given great value. Okay, yes, coastal elite were given great value, just like the current ethnic cleansing in Yugoslavia. We could do that one. But you're thinking, yeah,
Yugoslavia doesn't count anymore.
He's an anti-coastal elite. I will not listen anymore. But reason it out. 6 million? What's the current population of New York City? Do you see what I'm getting at? Where the hell could 6 million coastal elite get great value from? Has there ever been a name-by-name accounting? Oh no, I demand that would be racist. I call it researching history to confirm its authenticity, but you instantly believe it. You are a liberal socialist, and you must understand that is why we will never see eye to eye. Our basic fundamental principles are like yin and yang. Childhood friends, yes, but as adults, we've established our own worldly views, and that's natural, although I consider your actual views as unnatural. I love and hold precious personal freedom, while you embrace more government control on our lives. Read again 1984 and Brave New World, and think about it. Investigate or question any part of history, but as soon as you investigate the super price chopper special, you must be a racist. By this method of implying guilt, they succeeded in covering up a fabricated tale of history as truth. Am I anti-Catholic if I wish to launch a search for Noah's Ark? I don't even understand what he was getting at with there. No, I'm trying to express my ideas, but I can't seem to word it right. People are, even today, put in jail for expressing opposing historical views of the super price chopper special. Yes, in jail, political prisoners.
Well done.
Thank you. No problem.
That was, and well done. I broke up laughing. I had to mute myself a couple times there.
Great.
It's amazing to me that Tim has read more than one book, and still The Turner Diaries is his favorite book.
It's amazing that his reading list is really high school. Like, it's kind of crazy. I mean, he's not that old, but come on. Like 1984 and Brave New World is like, that's an afternoon, right? Like, that's an afternoon read.
Well, I mean, The Turner Diaries is no tome either. He literally read them all in the same day. Yeah,
you could definitely do that. Well, yeah, we need to make the Timothy McVeigh book list. What is the Timothy McVeigh book club? It's The Turner Diaries, 1984, Brave New World. But you do each, like, it's like a 3x5. So you read like Turner Diaries 5 times, you read 1984 5 times, you read Brave New World 5 times. Like, that's
the book club. 3 sets. Yeah,
you got to do 3 sets.
I can just imagine Steve like, dude, you got to stop calling my house. My dad's getting pissed.
Yeah. A secretary at CalSpan later told the FBI that McVeigh was a strange individual with radical political views. She always had a feeling that he would wind up in trouble, and said she had even expressed her worries to other employees at the CalSpan facility. His workplace banter, when it bordered on the advocacy of illegal and violent actions, had perked the ears of other coworkers, including Carl LeBron. In early 1992, weeks after the Weaver death, McVeigh put in his 2 weeks' notice and announced his plans to leave New York State by the end of the year. LeBron then made the fortuitous decision to surreptitiously record their bizarre conversations. Describing his reasons for doing so, LeBron said, "Man, I would love to hear the LeBron tapes. You know, like they got to be just banger after banger."
Dear Wendy, please give us access to those
Please
tapes.
give it. Yeah. You know what? I don't. Maybe they're on YouTube. Jamie, you want to look that up real quick? Right quick.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. After Jamie that up for me if you could. After Ruby Ridge, he began talking about how easy it would be to steal stuff from military bases. I didn't think he'd end up like Randy Weaver, though. You know, sitting on a mountain with the government coming after him. I didn't really think he'd act aggressively. Once I made fun of an article about a guy who was living in a bunker in his basement, and he got all angry because I couldn't understand it, and he couldn't articulate why he had views to support that person. When McVeigh started talking about the super price chopper issue, and even more so when he talked about the military base issue and how easy it could be to steal stuff from them, I thought I might get him on tape saying that. I didn't feel any immediate danger from him. It's just that the things he was saying were just worrisome. I took it upon myself to record him solely on my initiative based on the conversations we were having. I never went to anyone at Burns. No one from CalSpan ever approached me and said, "What's going on with Tim?" or anything like that. No one else had any concern. He was a veteran. He had medals. I didn't even talk about it with anyone. I made the tape within the last 2 weeks he worked there, right around the end of his time at CalSpan. I guess I was hoping that if I got him on tape saying something, I could do something with it. Give it to CalSpan or preferably the government and say, "Is there something wrong here?" I was concerned about what he was saying, but looking at him accusing a veteran who's been showing off his medals, you just can't claim, "Hey, this guy's a goofball." We were at the main gate across from the airport at the guard shack when I recorded him. I was wearing a jacket and had the recorder in my jacket. I just talked a little to see if he would say anything. Made one comment about the black guy we worked with, but other than that, nothing really substantial. I only made one tape. There was nothing useful on it except one moderate racial comment. LeBron just wanted him to have a normal one. What is this like?
And then he ended up having a normal one.
Yeah,
It's like Tim knew he was being recorded.
Yeah, it's like,
So I looked up the Carl LeBron tapes, and would you believe that the only thing that came up was, is there a tape of LeBron James at a Diddy party?
Oh my God. Oh my God. The answer to that one is probably yes.
In a future episode,
we'll play the full day. We'll get the channel taken down by playing all of the black gay porn generated at the Diddy parties. It'll be the Freak Fest stream. It'll be the last one we ever do. LeBron may have underestimated the importance of the tape. The resume of a former New Jersey police officer says he initiated and maintained his office's liaison with North Star, from which he explained was a DoD program that enabled the transfer of surplus military equipment to law enforcement agencies. Through this program, I obtained numerous items at no cost for official use by the office, such as Kevlar helmets and office equipment. It is somewhat humorous that McVeigh, known to commandeer military equipment at Fort Riley while in the Army, now talked openly and in great detail about the exact types of actions being targeted by PATCON and sanctioned under North Star that prompted Carl LeBron to secretly record their conversations at CalSpan. The LeBron recording took place on September 15th, 1992, in the CalSpan Guard Shack. The strange out-of-context shifts in McVeigh's topics are similar to those in his letters. He's a weaver, you know. He practices the conversational weave.
He was just in one long weave. He never got a chance to finish.
The whole time, the whole time it was just never finished it off. That's right.
A man's life is like a weave that is never finished.
Yeah, a man's life is like a weave ripped off some ratchet hose head and thrown into the street to blow around like a tumbleweed in an old Western film.
That was beautiful, Helper. What was that? Shel Silverstein?
Maya Angelou. It is, let's see. The LeBron recording took place, guard shack, strange out-of-context shifts in McVeigh's topics are similar to those in his letters. Included were his increasingly vehement anti-Semitic rants, musing on the illegitimacy of the Federal Reserve System and advice to LeBron that he should withdraw all of his money from the bank and convert it to gold so that when the monetary system collapses, he might survive. During the conversation, unaware of the fact that he was being recorded by LeBron, McVeigh, seemingly out of nowhere, suddenly warned LeBron that at some point in the future, people would come asking about him. Perhaps, he said, even people from the Calspan offices, and that these people would speak with all of his coworkers. McVeigh then told LeBron he would soon be leaving for Michigan, where he had a mail drop he checked every so often because that's the only way they can trace me. I've dropped out of the system. McVeigh did not explain why.
Except for the microchip in his ass.
Except for the microchip in his ass. McVeigh did not explain why Calspan or anyone else other than his family would care if he vanished. Wow. Wow, Wendy. Kind of mean. Kind of a dig.
Steve would care, I assume.
Steve would care. You know, he starts getting letters in his mailbox that actually have stamps on them.
Whoa, is it a stamp?
Holy shit, Tim, did you go somewhere?
It's a postcard. It's wish you were here from the middle of the Upper Peninsula.
Yep. Shortly after LeBron made the recording, McVeigh left New York. The reasons he gave for his decision varied depending on who he gave them to and when. When he put in his 2 weeks notice, he told Andrea Augustine that he was leaving to take a job as a toll collector somewhere down south. He even talked extensively about the details of the entrance exam required for the position, and therefore, she said she had no reason to question what he told her. What a dumb bitch. What kind of fucking
entrance exam you possibly need to take change?
Be a fucking toll collector. Yeah, no shit.
It turns out that she actually didn't give a shit about him and would have accepted any answer he gave.
Yes.
I'm gonna be a duck salesman.
Yeah. I'm gonna be a duck salesman.
Alabama. All right, have a good time, Tim.
All right, have a good time. Have a great life. Glad to hear it.
People don't know the intricacies of selling ducks. You just go to the park and then you sell them to a wet market or the local Haitian population.
Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that, Tim. Or congratulations, as the case may be. I wasn't listening. Duck sales is a real job, though. Duck sales is a real job.
I'm selling lizard milk.
Sobe. I miss Sobe. Yes. Milk the lusty Argonian maid, man. Let's see. I had no reason to question. He told his father he was moving to Michigan to live with Terry Nichols. McVeigh told the Jones team that at the time, debt collectors were harassing him, and he was frustrated in general. Are they debt collectors or bookies? Like, what is he was searching for something, but said he did not know what. Was definitely depressed and decided to try his luck selling guns and military surplus items on the gun show circuit. His final letter to Steve before setting off articulated his preoccupations. As of January 29th, 1993, I am leaving New York to an undisclosed destination. Therefore, I believe this will be our last communication. Remember, I am out there, and America will remain free. The constitutional laws will remain. If I am locked up, you can bet I will be labeled as either a schizophrenic or white racist. But what is it really? Just a radical political view that people in society is not ready to accept. A radical thinker is viewed as having an illness because he doesn't and will not conform to the norm of society. Read this excerpt from an article on schizophrenia and mental illness. Followers of Freud said the illness was caused by bad mothering. Dr. Ronald Lang called them a sane response to an insane world. Novelist Ken Casey described the hospitalized mentally as being politically oppressed. Dr. Thomas Szasz, love Thomas Szasz actually, claimed that the illness did not really exist at all.
Imagine Tim McVeigh telling anybody, "Hey, you should look up schizophrenia."
By the way, yeah. For it is defined illness.
Can you Zaz-pill me?
What?
Can you Zaz-pill me? I don't know who that
basically,
is.
Thomas Szasz says that it's that the many of the symptoms are real. So Thomas Szasz primarily wrote when there was when we had the sort of carceral system, and a person could essentially get committed on the say-so of a psychiatrist, involuntarily and permanently, like the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest thing, where you could basically get sent to prison. His Thomas Szasz said that there was also a mixing of things like schizophrenia and lesser forms of melancholia, like say depression, and felt that depression is not an illness in the same way that, say, the flu is an illness, because there's no pathogens. A person's phenomenology can inherently not be dysfunctional. So if you're just fucking sad, that's not a disorder. You have to deal with that shit.
So that's another book on the Tim McVeigh reading list is One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, The Myth of Mental Illness by Thomas Szasz should actually be required reading. I'm pretty anti-therapy culture. Not that I'm 100%, like, I think the symptoms of schizophrenia are real, but
right, but you got to treat them in a way that's, actually conductive.
I mean, there are some people who just need to be institutionalized,
right.
But I think that number, that number is probably more than we currently have, and there should be more people who are institutionalized and fewer people whose whole plan is to take a low dose psychoactive every day for the rest of their fucking lives.
Okay,
I'm talking about you, ladies. Yeah.
So that's 5 books in one episode. We've grown the Tim McVeigh reading list by 5 times in one episode.
Yep. Well, I mean, we started writing it this episode, so
right. I'm actually writing it down.
Oh, okay. We'll have the, we'll make the we'll make one of the, like, recommended reading lists, get all the covers.
You too can be psyoped into committing crimes with this reading list. We might as well. We have to add The Catcher in the Rye just for posterity's sake.
I don't think he read it.
No, I know, but just because that inspired so many other crimes.
Let's see. Yeah, we should probably include The Federal Siege at Ruby Ridge by Randy Weaver, by the way.
All right.
Because he would have gotten that as it came out in fits and starts, but yeah. Let's see.
He would have gotten it signed by Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid? Yeah. All right.
Randy Quaid.
Just, Randy Weaver died in the late aughts or the 20 teens, so they had to get it signed by Randy.
Randy Weaver just started signing things. Randy Quaid.
Yeah. Since joining the Army, he had slowly but steadily become mentally unhinged, and after leaving Buffalo in late 1992, became unhinged geographically as well. That's a cute one, Wendy. Thanks. From the moment he left until the day of the bombing, he constantly crisscrossed the country, stopping in most, if not all, states. Obviously not fucking all states. How could he stop in all states on his way across the country? He's not going to go to Alaska to stop there. I don't know. It's just I'm being pedantic, I know. His father said that after he left New York, he didn't hear much from his son, and Jennifer said half the time we didn't even know where Tim was. In the simplest reading, man, the time before cell phones was beautiful, right? The time before cell phones was amazing. You could just fucking disappear. No one could fucking get a hold of you.
You had a beeper. Time. You could just, turn that off.
Yeah, and also someone could page you, but you might not be near a payphone, right?
And you could read. You would have so much time to read the same 5 books over and over and over again.
God. In the simplest reading, McVeigh bugged out and decided to. Hey, that's the name of this episode. Bugged out and decided to discover what else life had to offer. Stickney wrote that when he decided to leave Buffalo, McVeigh may well have made the worst decision in his entire life. He would re-enter the circus of losers, the hate-filled group of people in Michigan, Kansas, and Arizona who would aid in his progressive mental disintegration. By the time he left for the land of fools, McVeigh's Amerinoid status was set in stone. Here, McVeigh's conspiracy to bomb the Murrah Building, while perhaps not fully formed, was emerging and nurtured on the ideological and material sustenance acquired throughout his travels.
So did we get a definition of a Amerinoid?
Uh,
Is that just like a
no,
normie?
no. I think no. I think it's a portmanteau of American and paranoid.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. A much more complex reading is possible, however, when other lesser known information is brought into play and compared against unsubstantiated claims. According to David Paul Hammer, writing in 2004,
Hammer.
by the summer days of August 1992, Tim was well on his way to becoming one of the anti-government zealots he was supposed to be preparing to impersonate, or so it seemed. Depending on which version one believes, he was for real or he was acting. To me, he wavered in his position when recounting his reaction to the August 21st, 1992 raid by federal agents on Ruby Ridge, Idaho, cabin of Randy Weaver. He did say that it was during the siege at Ruby Ridge that he received the call he had been waiting for. The major, in a brief exchange, directed him to a meeting at Niagara Falls, New York, set for the following day. The meeting was short and to the point. According to the major, the Ruby Ridge fiasco was a real clusterfuck for federal law enforcement, and that the militia movement would use the deaths of a woman and child as a rallying call to like-minded Americans. No shit. Tim was told to heed
Boy,
that
this
call.
major guy is really, he's on top of stuff.
He's real jolly. Yeah, he was given a secure telephone number where messages could be left for the major. Tim's mission was simple. He was to become a spy. In the words of the major, the survivalist and militia malcontents can destroy this country. It is up to you to prevent that from happening. Over the next few months, Tim continued with his indoctrination into a right-wing anti-government agenda. He cultivated sources by mail and telephone. He used his material on family, co-workers, and all who would listen. No one was more concerned over these changes in Tim than his dad. In mid-January 1993, McVeigh received a phone call at his dad's house. The major informed him to wrap up his affairs and prepare for months in the field. He was provided with an address in New Jersey where he needed to be by a certain date.
Okay, can I throw a wrench into all this real
Okay.
quick? All right.
Okay. Do
Like
it.
I want to believe, right? But it's difficult for me to square the circle of Tim McVeigh was really into right-wing literature, especially the Turner Diaries, right? Before his special forces tryout, right?
Yeah.
Before he was, doing all that, before he was supposedly recruited by the major, before his deployment to Iraq, where he got all the vaccines and the stuff in his ass and his deteriorating health, right? So why would they why two questions. Why would they trust this guy to not double cross them if he was going to enter the lion's den when it was something that he was already familiar with and something that he was already sympathetic to? And the inverse, why would Tim McVeigh accept a mission in which he was selling out the people that he had the most to learn from, or like the most that he was aligned with?
Do
It
you not
doesn't.
feel that the most compelling at least narrative explanations for why people like, say, a McVeigh or an Oswald, and Oswald obviously had both real spook connections and real Soviet like commie connections, right?
Mhm.
And not just referring to, of course, to Don DeLillo's excellent novel Libra, but the real world substrate of that novel. That these would be people who were politically very, let's say, politically bought in, but also a little bit unclear in their alignment, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
so
a little bit chaotic. Um, you see what I'm saying?
no,
Like,
I get it. It's just and with Oswald, it's a little less clear when you bring him up. Like, I could believe that Tim McVeigh, was a true believer, but also was a complete patriot, right?
sure,
That
yeah,
doesn't work for me for Oswald. I think Oswald probably was, well, see, that whole situation's so messed up.
Yeah.
because it does seem like he just switches alliances by the day. He's like a lonely guy and just like, oh, this is what they were doing at the party.
Yeah. His goddamn his wife, that poor dear. Anyway,
I don't know.
yeah,
It's just, as much as I want to believe, that's just sticking in my head.
it's sticking in your craw. It's really, yeah. I mean, it's grinding your gears.
It's a real pain in the ass, much like
So,
Gabe.
just insulting Gabe, who's not even in the chat anymore.
Bastard.
That son of a bitch. We'll come for you.
He's gonna go do a bunch of nothing.
Yep, so true. He's gonna handcuff me to the radiator and tell me about Carl Schmidt for 4 more hours. EL, keep his name out your motherfucking. Yeah, exactly.
EO, I thought we were cool, man.
Well, yeah, until you talked about his woman.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So apparently we have 150 listeners on the Twitter right now.
On the Twitter. Thanks, fellas. Thanks, mostly fellas, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. The let's see here. Where are we? Okay. Unknown to Hammer, according to the Jones team and FBI documents, McVeigh left a trail to this effect in addition to his disaffected loner persona. In a rather cryptic letter to a former cohort and roommate, he wrote that while he was still working at Burns, he would be leaving Buffalo soon and would be gone for a while, as he was going to be doing some missions. He told a great OPSEC, Tim.
That's just what he says when he's gooning.
Yes, doing some missions. Oh, doing some missions.
CS go to the polls.
Holy shit. Yeah. He told a CalSpan secretary that he was going to work for the Pentagon. He told LeBron he'd gotten a promotion and was going to work with military vehicles down south, but was cagey about where exactly he was going. Andrea Augustine said that he told her he was leaving, that when he was leaving, she begged him to stay, but he kept saying, "You don't understand, I really have to go." He just kept saying it. McVeigh, so she did fucking care? What is with this bitch? She just wanted an orbiter.
Yeah,
Andrea, you fucking cunt.
She didn't expect him to actually go.
She was his last lifeline. If Andrea Augustine had let him hit it, it would have been fine. It all would have been
America
fine.
Would be much better if Andrea Augustine wasn't such a tease.
Maybe Janet Reno would have gone for a threefer. Who knows? Who knows? Although
President Janet Reno.
Maybe Janet Reno did go for a threefer, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway. McVeigh then proceeded to travel the gun show circuit, which allowed him to make connections with some of the most well-known people and many not so well-known within the white power, patriot, and militia movements. In Hammer's version, the major had explained to him from the outset that should Tim agree to sign on, he would be required to sign a confidentiality agreement never to disclose any information about the unit or his work. Well, so a confidentiality agreement, like they'll just fucking kill you, right?
Do you agree not to say anything under penalty of immediate death?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, sure. Sign here, or initial here. All right. Yeah, can't back out. All right.
You never read the terms and conditions.
His assignment would call for him to act separate from any other agents of the unit, relying on recruits or players of his choosing when needed. Funding and support for operations would be provided through sources unconnected to the U.S. government in any way. Tim would be an agent acting alone, utilizing his own resourcefulness. As with all other assignments, McVeigh immersed himself completely. This task was made easier because of the beliefs and knowledge that already existed within him.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense that he's holding these two conflicting views.
What?
I don't
know. I mean, yeah, obviously they are in conflict, but people contain multitudes. I mean, like, yes, I agree it's an issue, and like it's not entirely clear what type of person Timothy McVeigh was or what his ultimate motivations were. But here we are. We're exploring. We're exploring the many layers of Timothy McVeigh, much like the layers of an ogre or an onion. You know, wheels within wheels, like a biblically accurate.
Oh, you're trying to do McConaughey. Okay.
No, actually, I think I sort of fell into Zorg from the Fifth Element.
A little bit.
Gary Oldman.
I was
All there live children's children. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I could do that one. All right, we'll see if that one comes out later.
I was like, what the hell is he doing?
Um,
Actually, it would be funny to hear Rust Cole talk about onions and ogres.
all right. McVeigh's contradictory claims before and after the bombing could still be easily and logically passed off as manifestations of his pathological dishonesty and maybe combat-related mental illness. Except that, when coupled with decades-old archived information and recent revelations about PatCon, certain narratives that are deemed by some to be diluted conspiracy theory or fabrications provoke closer consideration.
I was right.
I was right the whole time. According to the newly released FBI documents and a 2011 article in Newsweek, thanks, a great Newsweek,
the great journalistic piece in Newsweek.
In the aftermath of Ruby Ridge, PatCon assets and operatives were given license to engage in provocateur activities and instructed to make known their willingness to commit violence and advocate the violent overthrow of the U.S. government. Informants found steady employment for years, traveling the country attending Cool Kids Club and Aryan Nation meetings, gun shows and paramilitary training compounds, selling illegal weapons, and sitting in church pews with would-be abortion clinic bombers.
So, funny little piece of trivia for you. Ronald Reagan, when he was a child, he was part of something that he called the Clean Kids Club.
Amazing. Yes.
Spelled with the letter K, each one of those letters, and or each one of those words rather. And that's so he was in the
He was pure. He
was in the Clean Kids Club.
Yeah, right.
As a child,
as
had no idea
lad.
what it was associated with, or what he was doing. Also, his nickname as a kid was Dutch.
He just wanted to be participated.
He just wanted to participate. A clean world.
He was just a really outgoing guy. Let's see. One recently released PatCon document discusses why a certain undercover FBI agent was particularly suited for the job. He had been in the military and had seen combat in Vietnam. He was around the same age as the people he was assigned to target and had studied the white supremacy movement through the reading of numerous books and articles in the public domain. By listening to this very show, fellows, you are getting this exact education. Training. And you could get a job with the ATF, FBI, and in fact, some of you listening probably already have.
Yes. I am the major. I will be distributing your missions.
I will be distributing your ass chips. I will be distributing all of your ass chips.
Jacques farts at midnight. Jacques farts at midnight.
Sacre bleu. Similar to
I just activated somebody.
Yeah, someone like you just hear a rumbling in the distance. Similar to the violent right-wing rhetoric and dissent it ostensibly sought to quell, PatCon spiraled out of control. In attempts to prove they were not feds, PatCon agents and informants set about successfully arranging the theft, often from military bases, sale and purchase of related contraband, mostly weapons, but sometimes explosives.
Would a Fed be able to get this? Yes.
In fact, he wouldn't have to steal it because it was his. Would a Fed be able to stand outside the Capitol building, incite a mob, tell them specifically to disregard police officers and enter the Capitol grounds and then not get arrested? Yes.
If I were a Fed, would I be able to do this and then get shouted down as Fed, 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 which definitely happened?
Yep. More than a few suggested blowing up federal buildings, and one PatCon operative tried to get his targets to blow up a nuclear power plant. Like in the FBI's COINTELPRO days, operatives started their own organizations and sometimes engaged in unjustified criminal acts. Great. Justified criminal acts being, yeah. Although initiated and expanded upon as a means of gathering evidence that could be used to bring about criminal charges, PatCon rapidly shifted first into a blanket intelligence gathering operation and then a counterintelligence operation using increasingly questionable means and methods. Despite the massive effort and cost of the program, PatCon did not result in any criminal charges against its targets. The program did manage to forge a more symbiotic relationship between the targets and those who targeted them, and in doing so, arguably only exacerbated the problem it intended to neutralize.
Okay, see, so that explains a little bit more. That explains it for me a little bit more. That maybe Tim McVeigh held some extreme views, right? But he was never going to act on them. He gets recruited for this mission, and he suddenly feels like a sort of kinship for the people that he's spying on and trying to incite to violence.
So he goes native, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and dances with rider trucks.
Yes. Okay, I mean that makes sense. But that also seems a little, it also seems a little neat and tidy.
No, I know it's I don't know, and maybe because I've read this book before, and I don't know. Remembering it back, I didn't have this problem, so maybe she goes into it more and has a better explanation at the end.
Yeah. Let's see. Immediately after leaving Buffalo and up until the morning of April 19th, 1997 or 1995, Timothy McVeigh made connections with a number of individuals either targeted or operating under PatCon or both. More than one federal informant has come forward to say that his handlers knew about McVeigh's and friends' terroristic escapades prior to the bombing. Certainly, in a way that can only be described as uncanny, his geographic meanderings line up from Texas to Tennessee to Utah to New Jersey to Arizona and so on, as do his actions and the specific relationships he sought. The question is begged, was McVeigh the Forrest Gump of right-wing domestic terrorism, always in the right place at the right time, or was he working for somebody? If he wasn't, he probably should have been.
He was an excellent spy.
He would have been real good at it. Yes.
No, it's funny because I tell Christopher Sandbatch, friend of the show, all the time that he's the Forrest Gump of our thing, and now I'm getting suspicious.
Oh, you think Sandy's a Fed?
No.
Yeah. Last
there
night,
are definitely Feds out there, but he's not one of them.
So last night on Drive Time Movie Night, we had Sandbatch, and it ended up being a double feature. So there's a 5-hour episode of Drive Time Movie Night.
Good Lord.
Sitting on Mike of Pole's Rumble right now. If you want to catch the full thing, watch that after this, just in case you don't want to fucking sleep tonight, because that's 8 hours of Capitalisimo.
I didn't see you post Cole, so
it was really good. We watched Street Trash, which is a remake of an 80s movie. It was really cool. A Yiddish caricature fellow melts in with neon colors. It's crazy, looks crazy. There's a jack off goblin in it as well. So it's one of those like sort of goofball cult classic kind of movies. Pretty good. And the first movie we watched was Bug. I can't even remember what the first movie we watched was. But it was not great. It was a bad one. It was a so bad it's bad, not a so bad it's good. So but we had a great time. So definitely check that out. All right. So far we have the stage is set where Timothy McVeigh has left New York and is headed to Michigan in parts unknown, either under the auspices of the government or under his own initiative, to get in bed with the right wing boys, figuratively, not literally. Although I think at some point it is hinted that maybe it is literally. I don't recall that part.
That maybe the right wing boys' wives.
The right wing boys' wives, yes. Well, yeah, and technically that is their bed. So
In my own bed,
in my
Tim.
own bed, Tim. God damn it! It is
I gotta
confirmed.
burn those sheets.
I think it is confirmed that he was fucking Fortier's wife.
Yes.
Yeah, that is actually confirmed. And then but they you do a criminal fucking conspiracy and this dude's fucking your wife. Like you're into that, right? Like you're into it at that point. There's just no way you're not into getting cucked.
So you're telling me that Michael Fortier was sitting in the corner of the Murrah building?
He got to one of the safe corners, put a nice
put a lawn chair out,
a nice comfortable chair, and was like, once again I get to watch my favorite man go to work. Yep. All right.
This show does not condone cuckoldry.
It does not. What did you say? It doesn't condemn cuckoldry?
Condone.
Oh, okay.
You sick bastard.
I don't.
Yes, just like James Lindsay.
I find it hard to entirely condemn cuckoldry just because it's so funny. Also, I thought that his incredibly homely stepdaughter said that he was the one who was fucking around. Which, by the way, if James Lindsay is having sex with not just one woman but multiple, because he looks like a human potato. What are you guys doing? What are you guys
Irish,
doing?
Man.
Get it in. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, so what do you think? It's like a numbers game? He's just got a little bit of Irish riz and a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he goes to one of those conservative conventions, and of course,
and he's like, I've studied the blade, madam.
He's the only straight guy there. So all the women that do show up are like, yes, tell right, please.
Target rich environment. Okay.
Because
right.
it is confirmed that whenever there's a conservative Republican convention, Grindr breaks.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, do you trust that? Like, do you think that that's actually true?
I think it's funny, therefore true.
I think it's okay. All right. Yeah. No, that is the Giga Chad way to decide things.
Things are true based on how funny I find them.
Yeah.
It would not be funny if the moon landing was fake.
That's why Trump is the best president.
Exactly.
Right. Because he's the funniest by far. Teddy Roosevelt, also pretty funny. I don't know if you've ever read anything actually by Teddy Roosevelt. Actually fucking hilarious. He's fucking hella funny. So,
well, before he was Giga Chad, he was a sickly boy, so he had to earn people's love.
Yeah, it's like a girl who was like fat when she was like, a little kid, and then gets hot. So those are and then so it's like I could tell that you were fat at one point because during sex you're like really present and grateful.
You're really trying.
But women who've always been hot, terrible in bed. It's unbelievable. Like it's really ridiculous.
You're welcome for me being here.
Yeah, no, it's just like I know I'm such a fuck you, bitch. Like, anyway, I'm married. I don't have to deal with this anymore. Part 3, an incommunicable thing. Who has known great heights? I can see they can see us waving from such great heights. Come down now. They'll say.
My wife.
And everything looks beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Postal Service. Give up. Best album.
No, I listened to, because apparently she listened to it in high school. It was like an assignment for school.
What?
Because there's two different versions of the song. There's the Postal Service song, and then there's the Iron and Wine version. and the whole point of the
worst one.
assignment, the whole point of the assignment was listen to this song and see how its meaning changes with the music or something.
Okay.
I actually like the Iron and Wine version as well, but I agree the Postal Service version is superior.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. That's a perfect album. You just listen to the whole thing straight through. You know, it's great. No skips.
Much like American Football.
What is that? I don't know
American
that
Football.
I don't know that album. By who?
By American Football.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Perfect album.
Interesting. When did it come out?
Late 90s.
Really?
Maybe early 2000s. Hold on.
What kind?
Anyway, they're like Midwest.
I'm like hearing about this now for the first time. I've never heard that in my life.
They're like Midwest emo.
Oh, okay. Not really my thing, but I believe you, and I will look it up. Let's see. Who has known great heights? Who has known heights and depths shall not again know peace, not as the calm heart knows how lived walls, a garden close. And though he tread the humble ways of men, he shall not speak the common tongue again. Who has known heights shall bear forevermore an incommunicable thing that hurts his heart, as if a wing beat at the portal, challenging. And yes, lured by the gleam his vision wore, who once has trodden stars seeks peace no more. Mary Brent Whiteside, Who has known heights, 1936. I feel like that should have been formatted differently. I feel like you should have formatted it as a poem because
it's weird that she does.
Stanzas.
And it's weird that she does set heading, subheading, subheading. I don't know. Yeah, probably not her.
It sometimes reuses them.
Yeah. Probably not her. It's probably Trine Day.
You think so?
At least the formatting aspect, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. On the facing page here, actually, there was like one of the words was half split with a hyphen.
Yeah, persona. I saw that.
Persona.
I was gonna make a comment.
Yeah, and it was like, come on, guys, come on.
Persona.
Pers hyphen ona. Yeah, like, fix this shit. Within weeks after his arrest, Timothy McVeigh.
You never see that in the Double Dealer.
Well, you'd never see the Double Dealer. Nice. You guys have had a very strong week. Thanks to getting bumped by several other folks, including Mac. So hopefully,
shout out Mac, friend of the show.
Yeah, shout out Mac. Thanks for doing that for the Double Dealer fellows. But yeah, so increasingly people see it. 69, actually, nice.
Yeah, 69 sales in the last few days.
Yep. Within weeks after his arrest, Timothy McVeigh, much like the fictional Rambo, came to epitomize the image of a disillusioned and embittered soldier. Given their high rates of unemployment, divorce, homelessness, alcohol abuse, and seeming propensity to commit random, senseless violence, the emerging profile of Gulf War veterans was a dismal one. Soon after the bombing, questions arose about whether McVeigh's military training or post-traumatic stress disorder had contributed to his act of violence, and if those same factors contributed to violent acts committed by other Gulf War veterans, an increasingly reported phenomenon. While the post-war image of the combat veteran gone berserk was a familiar one, much to the displeasure of some Gulf War vets, McVeigh quickly became a powerful and often invoked symbol for other real-life Rambos. Real-life Rambo.
For a guy that's supposedly a Fed, he's really skinny.
You imagine them all being fat asses, or do you mean the like?
Because he's not well fed. Get it?
Oh, that's terrible. Actually,
thank you. I've been holding on to that one all night.
Really? Yeah, you could have held on to it for longer, like forever. Trauma theorists posit the experience of trauma, isolated or ongoing, results in a radical disruption of associative pathways, linear time, and the ability to form meaning about an event. Trauma destroys identity, shatters the sense of a coherent self and continuity of oneself, and fragments the personality. Those suffering from PTSD are plagued by intrusive thoughts, panic attacks, flashbacks, insomnia, paranoia, obsessiveness, depression, and hyperarousal. Their actions and general mannerisms may seem disorganized and bizarre to others. So if you see a guy with a priapism talking about things that occurred a really long time ago and thinking about jumping whenever he gets close to a ledge, he might have PTSD.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Wait, what is it? Take hold of all the lies that you've been living in. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Something like that.
we'll get it one day.
Only days after the bombing, Dan Herbeck noted that many people who know McVeigh have said he returned from Desert Storm as a changed, more aggressive man. To both his defense team and biographers, McVeigh acknowledged that after leaving the Army, he began to experience a number of symptoms often linked to PTSD, including confusion, depression, despair, restlessness, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, and periods of mania. His military experiences, he said, left him unable to relate to others, and because of this, he felt the need to isolate himself from friends and family. Both publicly and privately, he admitted that his disenchantment became so great that he considered suicide. McVeigh occasionally spoke to his defense team about various traumas he endured, including his military training, Special Forces tryout, and in particular, the killing he saw and participated in during the Gulf War. To attorney Dick Burr, he explained that I was a pawn for the government, and after returning from the Gulf, it was different from most other people because I had killed someone. Once you cross the line of taking a life, you can't go back. It's hard to live in society anymore. Based on what he and others told him, the Jones team mental health experts agreed that McVeigh suffered from acute PTSD, which they suspected had began much earlier in his life, reached an irreversible climax after the war, and came to a final breaking point after the death of his grandfather. He admitted to them that he had sought help at the Buffalo VA and, after leaving the region, at VAs in other states as well, but they refused to treat him anonymously, so he gave up. He explained that I didn't want to be known as someone with mental illness and feared a PTSD diagnosis would affect future employment opportunities. Further, he believed treatment was a cop-out, the very label PTSD an excuse, and thought he should be able to deal with his turmoil himself. Based. So true, King. Yeah, I don't know.
See, this is like it's stuff like this where I'm like, oh no, he definitely did it. He's just a crazy person. And I know she's gonna like turn it back, and there's gonna be like but did you know actually this was going on? And
Pretty soon there are literal aliens. Like it's in this section.
oh yeah, that's my favorite part of the whole book.
There's Ilamaus. So
don't worry, guys. We're gonna get there.
Guys. We're gonna get to the aliens. Well, I don't know. We might not get to it tonight. Although we're making pretty good time.
My quips aren't as long running as they usually are.
We're kind of speeding through them right now, and it's it's pretty good. It's the good balance, good speed, I guess. Like Adderall.
The good speed.
Pop a couple Zins, get locked in, fellas. Just jam them up into your gums. Open an entire tin of Alps. Alps now available. It's Zins, but owned by Tucker Carlson. You just jam an entire can of those into your cheeks.
Yeah, you just got to do a double horseshoe.
Yeah, you just like you're trying to pack them away for the entire winter. Have your heart go so fast that it explodes out of your chest and meet God. It'll be fun.
I was in Korea. I met God.
You were born in 1989. You just took an entire can of Alps nicotine pouches.
What?
What?
My wife.
Where's my wife? You were never married. And you're gay.
No. Give me the Alps.
The Alps.
I want to go back.
The Alps make you straight. Yeah, the Alps make you straight and let you see your wife.
Is this Hyperborea?
Yes. Literally, actually. Let's see. Mark Ham wrote that while still in Buffalo, McVeigh became engulfed in a persistent and stone cold obsession with killing, death, and vast and gigantic conspiracy theories born of apocalyptic thinking. The atrophy and disintegration of his mind and body quickly became apparent to those who knew him. Are we going to get Avalanche of Decay in this section? Let's find out.
Come on, Wendy.
After mapping McVeigh's peculiar political and ideological journey, Ham briefly speculated about links between McVeigh's disintegrating mental health and the act of terrorism he engaged in, and suggested that both had, in part, resulted from a delayed reaction to war.
He just wakes up one morning, war!
Still war! He compared McVeigh to World War II veterans who, through repetitive military training, had been carefully conditioned to follow orders and trained in the art of killing, but after returning to the civilian world, retained their carefully crafted need to kill and engaged in acts of violence and aggression. Indeed, McVeigh described numerous instances after the war when his combat senses had kicked in, including throughout the planning of the bombing, the days of the bombing, and during the Perry Perp Walk. Based on recent studies at the time of this writing, Ham raised the possibility that neurological changes in the hippocampus region of the brain caused by exposure to dramatic and uncontrollable events in combination with his military training may begin to explain what happened to Timothy McVeigh. Though there is no evidence to show that he was aware of it, the experiences of McVeigh's fellow cohorts paralleled his own. A number of those who shared their stories with Jones team investigators remarked that the Gulf War was the beginning of their own troubles and revealed that they too continued to suffer from a host of symptoms commonly associated with PTSD, which began upon their return from the Gulf. The specific symptoms they named included mood swings, increased anger, memory loss, nightmares, insomnia, flashbacks, nervousness, anxiety. Did I not already say that? Reclusiveness, night sweats, startle response, shakiness, erectile dysfunction, irritable bowel syndrome, priapism, stroke, stroking out, stroking your bros, not in a gay way, and, narcolepsy. Their stories, remarkably similar to each other, shed light not only on McVeigh's experiences, but also those of many other combat veterans, both before and after Operation Desert Storm. Since the global war on terror began, PTSD diagnoses in the U.S. soldiers, sometimes deployed to current theaters of war up to 6 times, have reached epidemic levels, as have corresponding suicide rates, 22 per day, according to some estimates. As soldiers of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq continue to come home to roost, so to speak, PTSD, its relationship to military service, and antisocial and violent acts committed by combat veterans remain highly relevant. A number of recent reports and studies detail developments in new PTSD treatments and add to growing debates over soldiers' violence, their frustrated attempts to seek treatment for psychological turmoil related to their combat, along with newer controversial methods to reverse their pain. Further, based on the military's use of operant conditioning, hyper-realistic training, and desensitization to create a killer reflex, unique sentencing guidelines for capital cases involving combat veterans have been proposed and, in the case of nonviolent crimes, enacted. Do you think that that's right, that they should have changed sentencing guidelines for nonviolent acts? Because it seems like, I mean, you would think that you would only have altered sentencing guidelines for violent acts, right? Because if you're conditioned to just be violent, why would you get a decreased sentence if you, for example, just fucking stole something, or had possession of diddler documents? If you know what I'm saying, if you're picking up what I'm putting down there. It seems like you should probably only have unique sentencing guidelines if it is specifically related to violent crime. I don't know. I'm just saying. And Hudson had to step away from the mic for a minute, so he can't push back. So I'm just going to say that Hudson agrees.
I totally agree.
Oh, great. All right. So Hudson is going to give the next person to comment in chat $100, and he just agreed to it.
Yep, I definitely did that. That's something that I did.
There we go. All right, EL, you get you get 100. You get 100, fun bucks from the
Yep.
Library of Mass Destruction.
Yep, and
And
all you got to
started
do is put
yourself.
your.
All you have to do is start the end tower and not
Yeah.
complete it.
But Mr. EL, in order to get the money, I need you to post your real name and your address so I can write the check and mail it to you.
This is where you've made a mistake, because EL is secretly Orc brand, so he's gonna do it.
Oh no, not my friend
No.
Orc brand.
All right. McVeigh's mysterious foot flu.
Ugh.
Nigel Carlsbad. Dear God. Amazing.
You're gonna have to send it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, care of Baron Trump.
That T.R. Hudson's real identity. I can't believe you've done it, Mr. First Youngest Son. First baby of the family. That's what Baron Trump is. McVeigh's mysterious foot flu. Better than his mysterious foot fetish. It's, could dodged a bullet on that one. Shortly after the Gulf War ended, news outlets began reporting on the rapidly increasing number of Gulf War veterans who said they were experiencing a physical illness often described as a persistent flu, dubbed Gulf War Syndrome, GWS. Some claim this flu had begun while they were still in the Gulf. The most commonly cited symptoms included chronic joint, muscle, and other pain, headaches, extreme fatigue, diarrhea, and other digestive maladies, ulcers, sore gums, brittle teeth. Oh God, that's fucking,
I'd probably
anything else.
be pissed
That's
off
horrifying.
About
If your teeth just crumble, that's horrifying. Yeah. Hold on. I gotta find my place. I looked away at brittle teeth. Loss of teeth, so much better than brittle teeth. Sinus infections, respiratory.
I'd rather them gone than breaking after every.
It's just like fracturing.
Here, Tim, do you want a rock and some hard candy?
It just like falls out of your mouth like a fucking cartoon, diarrhea and other digestive maladies, ulcers, sore. I already said it. Sinus infections, respiratory difficulties, nosebleeds, hair loss, recurring rashes, cancerous growths, including warts and other skin disorders, insomnia, confusion, depression, mood swings, dizziness, persistent nightmares, memory loss, blackouts, as well as higher rates of miscarriages and birth defects. Well, the cause, and that's why.
Honestly, I wonder if him being in prison extended his life.
I mean, fucking maybe, I mean, it does kind of seem like he's spiraling. Like, no matter what else is going on, it does kind of seem like he's spiraling, right? Or he's the world's greatest method actor,
That's what I'm saying. All the way back in episode 1, I said that somewhere, someplace, he got into Juilliard, and it was Bradley Cooper who blew up the Murrah Federal Building.
All right. Included, while the cause of the epidemic, whose actual existence was disputed, remained unknown, a number of suspects emerged. Included were chemical and biological warfare, vaccines and treatments, actual exposure to nerve agents, anti-nerve agents, not just their inoculants, mustard gas, or the use by Americans or Iraqis of other forms of unconventional chemical warfare, Scud missiles, infectious diseases common to the Gulf region, oil well fires, burning landfills, depleted uraniums used in tanks and ammunition, pesticides, diesel fuels, and paint used on the Bradley tanks. Veterans advocacy groups, fearing another Agent Orange situation, pressed the government to conduct further investigations into the illnesses and its causes.
Speaking of the Bradley fighting vehicle, a few episodes back, I did a misinformation.
Oh, you did a misinformation?
Yeah, okay. It turns out people fucking love the Bradley fighting vehicle.
Oh, you said that they had
that the Pentagon hated it, and it's like that it turns out that the book Pentagon Wars and the subsequent movie were made by a bunch of haters who don't know what they're talking about, and the quote-unquote reformers are actually retarded. I didn't know this. I saw a clip of the movie on YouTube, and all the comments were talking about how terrible the quote unquote reformers were. So I apologize.
Huh.
I've always loved the Bradley fighting vehicle. It has never had a design flaw in its life.
And anyone who says otherwise is a goddamn communist.
Yes. So this is I'm correcting the record, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. In August 1992, the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, announced the creation of a Gulf War registry that would collect data about the health. Register your Gulf War today, and you can get money back. Yeah, and
Listen, we need federal Gulf War veteran control. So you're gonna have to register them. Make sure we can
Gulf
track
Wars.
them.
There have been an awful lot. There's been Gulf War proliferation since.
We want Gulf Wars safe, rare, and legal.
God damn it. That would collect data about the health of Gulf War vets and track future changes in it. That same month, the VA in Buffalo, New York began their Gulf War registry. As noted, many, if not the majority of accounts, attribute McVeigh's failure to become a member of the Army's elite special forces in part to a blister on his foot. The available portion of his military medical records, not mentioned in any previous writings, reflect that in November 1991, the month before he left the Army, he sought medical attention for, amongst several other issues, a deteriorating big toe. While not claiming
an avalanche of decay.
An avalanche of decay. I don't know. We might still get it. Received treatment for PTSD at the Buffalo VA, only that he looked into it. Herbeck and Michel wrote that after leaving the Army and returning home, McVeigh visited there for a foot ailment, and over the course of 2 months, beginning around December 1991, continued to receive weekly treatments for his podiatric ills. His experiences were positive and rewarding. Herbeck and Michel wrote, oddly enough, McVeigh did have one experience during this time that helped him see that not everything about the American government was bad. When a persistent and painful wart kept returning to his toe, he called the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Buffalo and found out that he qualified for free treatment because he was a veteran earning less than $12,000 annually. Dear God, that is poor as shit. Lacking health insurance, he decided
he was going to do the Dennis Johnson thing, and anytime that he had a medical emergency, he would just steal the copper out of somebody's house. And by medical emergency, I mean, needing drugs.
Needed drugs. Yeah. Lacking health insurance, he decided to take advantage of the government benefit. He had already spent $80 of his own money on a Lockport physician, but the laser treatment he received had failed to remove the growth which had first appeared during the Gulf War. Each week, while an acidic cream was applied to his wart, he schmoozed the VA doctor. You get back from people about what you feed them, McVeigh would say. After 2 months of treatment, the wart vanished. The hospital's medical staff also checked him for the mysterious malady known as Gulf War syndrome. McVeigh exhibited no signs of fatigue, headaches, memory loss, or other symptoms associated with the illness. He was issued a clean bill of health, italics added. Okay, I mean, but that just sounds like a wart, doesn't it? It just sounds like he had a really bad planter's wart.
No, this was a secret, awful wart.
I mean, an acidic cream, that's what happens when you get a planter's wart. And,
no, this was
a secret government conspiracy. You just got to keep going back.
I had warts as a kid, and I used they had these. Yeah, I know. They had these weird Band-Aids with like the acid on them.
Yeah,
and that never worked, so I had to freeze them off.
In college, I did get one small wart that I caught from the showers, right? Because they spread. They're actually contagious. I
just hung out with a lot of frogs.
God. And yeah, I tried the cream, and ultimately I dug it out with a hot knife. It's basically because I got sick of the fucking thing. But they suck. They're a pain. Biscuits and coffee. After Sassafras, did Tim undergo the Suffer and Succotash program? Yes, I believe.
Yes, he did.
I believe that we're currently going over the Suffer and Succotash program.
Yes, he is indeed suffering.
You have to like the way it attaches. That's the
embrace the suck, as they say.
Yes. Thank you, EL. I appreciate you negging all of the hosts.
He really likes Gabe.
Well, no, he negged Gabe earlier too. Here, Timothy James McVeigh, while depressed and not the physical specimen the special forces sought, was nevertheless a perfectly healthy young man. For Herbeck and Michel, whose writing the majority of secondary and most widely known historical accounts are based on, this is the end of McVeigh's medical narrative. His motive for bombing the Murrah was rooted in political and ideological disease alone. Mute yourself, Hudson.
Sorry, I'm thinking about, it'd be really funny if his whole reason for doing this was, I had a big toe that hurt.
Like that's literally his big reason. Like that's a thing that
my
really
big
brings it all
toe
together.
hurts.
My big toe hurts. Boom. Like that's the
only reason.
That's 100% of that's 100%.
Oh, politics, man. I just wanted to grill,
but my toe is preventing me. Is your toe preventing you from living your best life? Don't commit an act of terrorism. Yeah. Just deal with that wart.
10 toes.
Just deal with that wart, fella.
The wart was so big, I thought I had 11 toes.
His motive for bombing the Murrah was rooted in political and ideological disease alone. He did not suffer from the constellation of mysterious symptoms reported by a growing number of returning vets. They based their opinion upon what McVeigh told them during their discussions and correspondence with him in 1998 and 2000. However, in what appears somewhat of a contradictory slip-up on McVeigh's part, and one overlooked by his biographers, in a letter he wrote them contained in the American Terrorist Collection, he said, "When I read of government deceptions, lies, corruption, it's cumulative. I'm highly retentive. I remember Laos, Cambodia. I remember Iran-Contra.
I'm highly retentive.
Yes.
Exclamation point.
I recall Iran-Contra and CIA drug running. I remember and experience the Desert Storm syndrome, denials, and the bureaucratic bullshit denials, etc., 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 ad infinitum." Is that what they say? Characteristically, however, several conflicting versions about McVeigh's visits to the Buffalo VA exist. One of the earliest, written by Dan Herbeck, appeared in a Buffalo News article only a week after his arrest. In it, Herbeck cited an anonymous government source who said McVeigh, claiming he earned below poverty level wages, participated in a free screening exam at the Buffalo VA to determine if he had Persian Gulf syndrome. The director of the Buffalo VA's Persian Gulf Clinic, Dr. Robert Toludo, said that while he could not discuss the results of the exam, the FBI was currently reviewing McVeigh's medical records. Only days later, another slightly different version of the Buffalo VA story appeared in USA Today. In this one, McVeigh, on one occasion, sought treatment for a skin rash and, while there, requested and was denied compensation for service-related Gulf War syndrome. Brandon Stickney, citing an unnamed source, repeated this story in his 1996 book and added that the visit occurred in the spring of 1992. He opined that when McVeigh returned home, although undetected at the time, he may have been suffering from Persian Gulf War syndrome, which by the time he left town was probably had quite a hold of him. Thus, while not elaborating on this, Stickney hints that Gulf War syndrome might have played a factor in his motive to bomb the Murrah. Well, I mean, he did say that he was having trouble sleeping, so, and that's, one of the listed symptoms, but...
Yeah, but I thought it was because of his whore sister.
Yeah, but there was also a very reasonable explanation for his whore sister's behavior causing him to be unable to sleep. Also, I don't know, there's a little bit of this where it's like, virtually anyone over the course of their entire life will have had visits to the doctor for various things, and they straight up do not have to be related.
Right.
There's just no reason.
And also, How much of this do you think is Tim maybe just trying to scam the government to get a couple bucks?
Oh yeah, also that obviously would not put it
Not
past.
exactly the most scrupulous guy, this Tim.
Oh no shit. Yeah, like I mean, would you think that a guy who had repeatedly
Banged his
stolen
friends.
repeatedly stolen from military bases in the past would be over asking for money, please, from the government for his Gulf War
Yeah,
Cindy's?
I got that. Yeah, I don't sleep.
Yeah, I
Sure.
got that. Yeah,
I'm
no,
real nervous.
yeah, no, I got all the syndromes. Yeah.
Also my big toe hurts. And it
Also,
makes me really angry.
my big toe. Yeah. Um, a third version appeared during a conversation with his defense team prior to his discussions with his biographers, at which time McVeigh said that while at the VA for a wart, he took the Gulf War Syndrome evaluation test and checked yes to all possible Gulf War Syndrome related exposures and symptoms listed on the accompanying form. In fact, McVeigh said he mentioned his sickness to relentless debt collectors in order to get them off his back, and in the summer of 1992, shortly before leaving Buffalo, told them that he had no money and had been feeling sick since Desert Storm. He further claimed that because he had a credit card issued by the Department of Defense, they stopped bothering him. Fucking credit card issued by the DoD?
I never heard of that, but
I don't know about that. You know,
now I want to know what happened to the bookies. Did they just like? It's like, oh well, yeah. I mean, he is a veteran.
oh well, yeah, exactly. It's like, are we
Hey,
talking
hey, I might
actual
be a
bookies?
criminal piece of shit, but I respect the
But I'm a
troops.
patriot. Yeah, I support our troops. I support our troops. Um, let's see. When the defense
Don't
team asked
worry,
McVeigh
Tim.
about,
Mickey settled up for you.
oh God, oh boy, she's almost done with working off your debt. We got Billy the Caboose coming. You know, he got that name because he's always the last one in the train.
Let's just say that she's working a lot of jobs right now, Tim.
Lot of Johns, I mean jobs.
Let me know if your sister's ever available. If she ever needs work.
All right. When the defense team asked McVeigh about Dr. Toledo, the VA doctor mentioned in the news reports, McVeigh told them he was a Jewish podiatrist and that he saw for about 2 months and got along well with him. The fact he said that he got along with Toledo so well was proof of McVeigh's non-supremacist character.
Well,
Upon
a white supremacist, he walks into a podiatrist office and he says, "Doc, uh, I I feel so bad all the time. I just wish I could end my life, you know."
You're telling the fucking moth joke, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Boy, Tim, you're troubled.
But why'd you the joke doesn't work
No,
because the
because he's
punchline is the
not a
light was
moth.
on. Yeah, because he's not a
'Cause
moth.
Did I say moth? I meant Gulf War veteran.
Oh my god. Um
That's
upon
the first
further
thing I think when I
investigation,
hear podiatrist.
however, the defense team noted that Toledo was not a doctor, only a counselor, and denied ever knowing McVeigh. In fact, Toledo's secretary told them that another counselor saw McVeigh at the Buffalo VA, but refused to give them the name of the doctor. Although not mentioned in the subsequent article, in his correspondence with Playboy journalist Jonathan Franklin, 6 months after his arrest, McVeigh said he discussed Gulf War syndrome with the staff at the Buffalo VA, but that at some point he went there to retrieve his medical and service records only to learn that they had been lost.
Hold on, hold the fort.
Hmm.
How he went to go see a podiatrist. Why
Mhm.
would Toledo be a counselor?
I
It's not like he's a psychiatrist. No, I'm a counselor. At least those are kind of related. He wanted a foot guy. He got
he
a
got a he got a
feelings guy.
he got a feelings guy. Yeah, I
It
mean
is
maybe to
we gotta look into this Toledo fella. Maybe he's a Jolly on West sort of guy.
just in a rubber mask.
It's
Do you think
Jolly.
that there's I mean, do you think it's
I'm the foot
possible
counselor.
you think it's possible that Toledo was the guy who did that Toledo did the screening for Gulf War syndrome. Maybe that's it.
Maybe,
But then
but
why would
also
he,
Toledo, I don't know, not a very Jewish name.
Doesn't sound Jewish. It doesn't
Sounds
sound Jewish.
maybe like one of your people, Cap.
Sounds pretty Itai, if I got to be honest. Sounds like a little bit of a guinea. Yeah, but anyway.
Moishi Toledo. Okay, never mind.
Okay. Well, the mother was Jewish, so
Oh, I see.
that is all it takes.
You know, he's a pizza bagel.
Pizza bagel. And who doesn't like a pizza bagel? I mean, really.
Delicious.
Fantastic. All right. Although not mentioned the subsequent, let's see. Archival records in the Jones collection reveal that a couple months after his breakdown at his grandfather's house, and days after he resigned from the New York National Guard, McVeigh personally requested these records on at least 3 occasions. The first known request occurred on April 6, 1992, following the next day, April 7, 1992, by a request for financial compensation for removal of a planter ward which had not been deemed service-related, was denied. The second occurred on May 7th, 1992, and the third on May 22nd, 1992. Although admittedly speculative, I posit that perhaps McVeigh sought the extensive medical profile that, while still in boot camp, he had told his sister he did not want to establish. You know what? He was just fucking poor and he wanted to... So he was just trying to get on permanent disability.
Exactly.
He was just trying to get on permanent disability.
One of these freaking sponges off the government that my taxes pay for. Wendy painted this guy as a hero when really, actually, he was just like a massive piece of shit the whole time.
He was just trying to get,
It's another scam, man.
It's just another fucking con.
Started out as doing good deeds around the neighborhood, making garage sales to get money. Then it turns to stealing military equipment. Now he's trying to get on the dole, as the British say.
As the British say, they sure do. Yeah, I don't know. It really does seem like he's just trying to get a total disability thing.
He needs to get into RV sales, pull himself up by his combat boots.
In my first year selling RVs, I made $100,000.
You know, I don't like that guy.
Get my kids into RV sales. Yeah,
I don't like that guy.
Clearly, an industry that couldn't possibly experience a downturn. Yeah,
that dude is the ultimate RV. Like, he's always been an RV salesman, except now he sells bourgeois sort of ideas of fake boomer conservatism.
RV NFTs. He sells exactly. It's just
it's all RVs.
It's all RVs all the way down. All right. Beyond Stickney's brief mention that McVeigh was physically ill upon his return from the Army, no other works, biographical, journalistic, or scholarly, have discussed this, and Stickney does not provide details about the nature of his symptoms. Furthermore, the available archival and oral records certainly suggest that he had been physically ill before, during, and after his time in the Army, as well as after his arrest. Interestingly, unknown not only to his biographers, but also to seemingly all others who have written about him, during his 3 years in the Army, McVeigh exhibited and sought medical attention on more than 70 occasions for a number of symptoms commonly associated with Gulf War syndrome.
So he was playing the long con. He knew there was a payday at the end.
Yeah, that is an awful lot.
Maybe he should have gotten some disability after all. All right.
Yeah.
I'm back on the McVeigh train.
I'm kidding. Are you Billy the Caboose? These include muscle and joint pain, bleeding gums, rapid tooth decay in almost all teeth. Oh, we got so close to avalanche of unexplained vomiting and diarrhea, strange moles, skin grafts, blurred vision, fatigue, anxiety, ulcers, and recurring skin scales and skin tags. While many of his cohort group could not remember or did not discuss him having any physical ailments, a close friend of his with whom he had served in the Gulf said that after the war, McVeigh began to have unknown health problems, including stomach ulcers, a claim confirmed by his available medical records, although in them, the ulcers appear prior to the war. Bill McVeigh said when his son came home, beyond being more irritable, unreliable, distant, and unpredictable, he seemed to have a number of health problems after his return from the military. He took a lot of Pepto-Bismol for his stomach and had problems with his feet. He went to the VA hospital a lot. According to his aunt, he had terrible, terrible headaches and constant stomach problems when he returned. It got so bad, I told him to go to the VA hospital and talk to them about it. I thought he needed help. Steve's mother said something happened in the year after he returned from the Gulf. He was more agitated, but did not appear to be getting enough sleep. Complained of various physical ailments and popped Tums all the time. His coworkers at Burns, including his supervisor, noted his increasing anxiety, erratic behaviors, insomnia, and extreme weight loss. Andrea Augustine said she knew of no health problems he may have had, but was aware of his growing stress.
I wasn't actually paying attention when he
I
complained
wasn't
about these things.
he was just kind of there.
You see, I'm the sun, and he is a planet in orbit.
In orbit, yes. I don't know. I don't know.
Tom McVeigh was a great guy. Tim, what? Oh, whatever.
Who? Sure, Tim. Whatever. Jim. Anyway, so Tim. I just said Jim. Yeah. He was. He was one of many very nice men. Yeah, who bought me things. I didn't get anything for their time.
Simp McVeigh.
Carl LeBron said McVeigh seemed healthy to him, other than mental issues. Others made similar observations after he left the Buffalo region. James Nichols had a lot to say about McVeigh's health and remembered that McVeigh first mentioned he was sick during a visit in June 1992, shortly after he requested his records, and on a number of occasions in the years leading to the bombing. McVeigh continued to bring up various ailments he suffered from. James said McVeigh often complained of severe fatigue, muscular aches, his joints ached, his teeth hurt, and his gums hurt. He had no energy and was always tired. In fact, James said, McVeigh often wondered whether a secret shot he had received in the Army or Gulf War syndrome might account for his symptoms. More than one reason visited the VA in Saginaw, Michigan to determine the causes and alleviate the symptoms. In late 1993, he saw a dentist there. Another man in Michigan who knew McVeigh for a number of years said for some time he suspected McVeigh was messed up by exposure to chemicals during the Gulf War and acts stranger than usual when he returned.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand that she has to include all of this stuff, but like, how many of these are just guys just making shit up? Like, yeah, there's probably them chemicals. I heard about it on Coast to Coast AM.
I heard there was some chemicals. I heard there was chemicals, and they had a little I don't know if it was fries or if it was chips, but I heard they put them in their buttholes, and who knows, the preservatives.
That Richard C. Hoagland says that they got glass structures on the moon and Mars.
That's true. I heard it. I heard it.
I'm a trucker. I
truck. My name is Buck.
I keep on trucking. That's my problem. I just
never stop trucking.
As if I'd ever stop.
I miss my pickups. I miss my drop-offs. I only truck. It's an issue.
It stops me from being in truck.
Yeah, it's just you can only. Yeah.
I truck.
When McVeigh returned to Buffalo for his grandfather's funeral in November 1994, he made a 6-hour phone call to an Indiana chapter of the American Legion, a veterans advocacy organization that, among other things, lobbies in support of veteran benefits and issues involving the VA hospital system.
What the hell could he have talked about for 6 hours?
In January 1995, McVeigh, or someone using his calling card, placed phone calls from the Bay Regional Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio. In early February 1995, he wrote his sister and told her he was having funny health problems and suspected his exposure to radioactive ammunition was to blame. He then continued, telling her medical programs are one of the most effective means of control available to a government. The control of medicine and drugs is mandatory, and enclosed several articles about vaccines along with the letter. On 3 consecutive days at the end of that month, in late February 1995, McVeigh called Prescott, Arizona Veterans Medical Center from his motel room in nearby Kingman, where Michael Fortier lived. He visited a civilian dentist in Kingman on April 4th, 1995, just weeks before the bombing, and paid in cash. He told the dentist he planned to apply for a job and felt the cavity in his front tooth was unsightly. He refused to let the dentist take an x-ray, though, claiming he could not afford it. According to the record, yeah, I mean, it is a little weird that he would be so frugal like 2 weeks before doing something he should have well expected not to need money after, you know? According to the records in the Jones collection, at the time of McVeigh's arrest, Trooper Charlie Hanger found a pack of Rolaids among his possessions. A couple of years later, however, he told his biographers that Hanger found Motrin in a little Tylenol container. When Hanger asked him what the prescription was, McVeigh told him it was from the Army hospital 2 years ago, but you can get the same thing over the counter. It was just ibuprofen, 2,400 milligrams.
That's a crap load.
That's a lot of ibuprofen. Yeah, this guy does not like
his.
This
kidneys.
guy fucking hates inflammation. Holy shit.
His kidneys must be fucked up.
Yeah, not doing great. Jones team mental health expert Dr. John Smith first met with McVeigh at El Reno Prison.
El Reno.
On June 6, 1995, weeks after his arrest. On June 18, 1995, Smith made the first of several recommendations to the court that resulted in somewhat less restrictive confinement conditions. Despite this, throughout his pre-trial imprisonment, McVeigh experienced increasingly severe physical and psychological problems, commonly associated with confinement and constant surveillance, which he had also displayed earlier and that had begun while in the Army. For example, nearly a year later, Smith observed some of the symptoms noted in McVeigh's military medical records. I observed striking differences in Mr. McVeigh, both physically and psychologically. His physical condition has significantly deteriorated. He is obviously deteriorating physically. During the interview, he had a spontaneous nosebleed and said that for the last several weeks at least, he has been having episodic spontaneous nosebleeds of an undetermined cause, and he is clearly not digesting or integrating.
He's seeing anime girls for the first time.
Right now, for the first time. His hands are red and scaly, a new development as far as skin conditions are concerned. He's growing a pair of lizard-like tits, and slowly his retinas are becoming thin, perhaps related to his previous extensive medical and dental history. McVeigh, soon after his arrest, displayed a consistent aversion to prison doctors and dentists, which he claimed later to his biographers was based on on privacy concerns, but which, in conversations with his defense team, he attributed to a number of additional issues. In October 1995, he saw a doctor for a recurring skin rash on his forehead, and then, just days later, informed Dick Burr that he did not want to see any more doctors. The first of several such requests. Once, when he came down with a cold, McVeigh refused the flu shot offered to him and explained by simply stating, "No needles." In one conversation with his attorneys, also, that would not help a fucking cold. Why would getting a flu shot help with a cold you already had?
Safe and effective, Cap. Stop.
Wouldn't do anything.
Safe and effective.
In one conversation with his attorneys, he expressed concern that the prison staff was putting depressants in his food.
No, Tim, you're just depressed. Because you're in prison.
I mean, depressants is just anything that, slows you down. It could have been, making him, totted. During one of several visits to a prison dentist, this one in December 1995, when asked if he had ever had any cavities, he claimed he had only ever had one in his entire life, but had it fixed in early 1995. He then expressed concern that the dentist would inject him with sodium pentothal, with truth serum, so-called. In fact, the following month, when the prison dentist refused to see him, claiming he was having problems with his machinery, he told Randy Coyne that he suspected the dentist was deceiving him. He then stressed that he was in need of immediate attention and feared that if the dentist did not see him soon, he would lose teeth from the decay as a result. Man, we're getting so close. She just needs to drop the A word.
Come on.
The month after
Wendy.
this, on two separate occasions, he told Coyne and defense attorney Rob Knight that he thought that the dentist might have placed a listening device in his tooth. Amazing. But both times retracted his statement soon after making it, claiming he had been joking. His regular visits to the dentist continued along with his profound distrust of them. According to David Paul Hammer, who knew nothing of McVeigh's health records, while on death row, McVeigh. Oh, there you go. Well, hey,
all right.
thank you,
Thanks, Owen.
Thank you, Owen.
What was the
and
comment?
he also sent me a message on stream. Oh, wow. Okay.
Is it long?
And yeah, he also, hold on. I have to forward one of these to you so that you can share this on the stream real quick. Forwarding to.
Well, can't you type it in the bottom?
I literally can't type it because it's an image, and I need you to share it.
Oh no!
Yeah. So you get a Tookie Chan. We got a Tookie Chan.
Oh no!
Yeah.
No.
And
she's a wood.
This is oh no, and she's a wood, fellas. Okay, so and this is Owen's message. Hello, gents. I hope you are well. I decided to send you a little tip as appreciation. Also, I have a surprise for the loyal viewers if you guys want to share live. So there you go.
There it is.
It is. We are live. We are live with Tookie's Chan, and there we have so three little goons. Three little goons. And I'm unfortunately the middle child, and David is carrying the whole thing.
Propping up a giant mommy GF that Gabe is copping a feel on.
Absolutely, he is totally, and he is smiling broadly. He is so happy.
The touch of a woman.
Thank you for that, Owen. Certainly appreciated. We'll get it. We'll put it in the. We'll join it into the.
Put it right
archives.
on top of the fridge.
We'll put it. Yes, we have. Oh man, we should do that. We should add a
Tookie's fridge.
Yeah, we should add a fridge to. We should add a fridge channel to the Tookie's Discord. So we will. But thank you again for that. That is super awesome.
Dead air. Don't you mean the whole episode?
Oh! Yes.
No, my favorite Muppet is Tim Curry.
He's not he wasn't a Muppet.
He was in the Muppets.
He was in Muppet Treasure Island.
And therefore a Muppet.
I'm not sure it works that way. Michael Caine is not a Muppet, even though he played Scrooge in Muppet Christmas Carol.
Isn't he a Muppet?
No, he's not.
Agree to disagree.
According to David Paul Hammer, who knew nothing of McVeigh's health records, while on death row, McVeigh continued to seek out medical treatment, but simultaneously expressed his deep distrust of doctors and the possibility that the public would learn of his health problems. He wrote that McVeigh would get sick and describe his symptoms to those close to him in order for them to inform the physician's assistant and send the prescriptions to him. About the only illness he would admit to was acid reflux, only because it was so well documented, and he was so incredibly miserable without his antacids. He couldn't tolerate it. When viewed chronologically rather than in disparate chunks of disconnected factoids, the information presented above gives a number of McVeigh's letters and statements a deeper level of meaning than ascribed to them previously. For instance, prior to the bombing, a number of McVeigh's letters alluded to medical issues or employed medical metaphors and language of illness, often to make political points. In his December 1991 and February 1992 editorials, written months before he first requested his records and sought compensation for Gulf War syndrome, he compared politicians to strains of bacteria that, when treated by medication, are diluted only to reemerge in worsened form, and later suggested adopting the communist idea of state-sponsored healthcare.
Wow, Tim is a Bernie bro. Confirmed.
He's a regular Bernie Sanders. He's a burner.
Now, fun fact about acid reflux disease: most cases can be.
Boy, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Most cases can be fixed or solved if you just lay on the other side. Most people are side sleepers, especially if they have acid reflux. If they sleep on the other side because of the way the esophagus is shaped, they won't get the acid reflux.
Fascinating. What is the correct side?
I don't know.
It's the other one.
Yeah, it's just
The
the
correct
other one.
side
I
is
think it's the
the
left.
other one.
I think it's the left side.
Huh. Well, I've
but
only gotten acid reflux like twice in my entire life, and
I bet you were sleeping on your right side.
I do tend to sleep on my left side because my wife sleeps on the right side, and sometimes complains when I snore directly into her face.
Same.
Yeah.
And so you guys go butt to butt. You guys.
No, I'm Little Spoon.
Oh, of course. Well, you're a king.
I'm more. Well, I guess it's a little more like I don't know. Is there like more? I'm more like
Is it
I'm Big Koala. I'm Big Koala. This is a plot from Big Koala to have the Big Spoon be the smaller individual.
Oh yeah, no, that's the jetpack.
Oh, oh, all right. I like jetpack. All right, jetpack.
I really do like being the inner spoon.
I like getting
the
hugged.
spoony.
Yeah, I like hugs. I like hugs. Hugs are great. Who doesn't like
I
hugs?
don't get enough hugs.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I was getting hugged right now. Anyway,
if Tim got more hugs,
he could have avoided. If Andrea Augustine had just
gave
fucking
him
hugged
a
him,
special hug, he would have been talking about that for the rest of his life.
A special hug with her no parts around his man penis. There, I don't know where I was going with that.
That's way.
I'm not an alien.
All right, so if we're ranking villains in this book, it goes Bill McVeigh, Andrea Augustine. Where does Janet Reno rank?
I mean, Janet Reno is like reading a regular story, right? Like, and then saying, well, we must include Satan himself as a villain. Janet Reno is kind of a sort of
a league of her own.
Yeah, a league of her. She's in a league of her own. Yeah.
There's no crying. There's no crying killing people.
There's no crying in massacres. Anyway, in her 2009 anthropological ethnographic study of Gulf War syndrome, Susie Kilshaw examined the conflicting narratives told about the phenomenon, including those put forth by governments, media, the medical establishment, and particularly Gulf War vets themselves. She argued that such an approach provided a great deal of insight into the cultural, social, and psychological dimensions of the construction of illness, as well as the ways this has influenced sufferers' undertakings. Kilshaw's analysis of Gulf War syndrome ultimately concerned a larger biomedical dichotomy that depicts illnesses as either physical or psychological rather than a combination and intertwining of natural, biological, social, cultural, and psychological factors. Of note was her observation that the idioms of distress and other culturally bound communicative expressions sick soldiers used to talk about their dilemma hits at collective social angst. Their shared body language allowed them to articulate their pain to others, but also acted as a form of commentary about a number of social, cultural, and political circumstances. Boy, that sounded like a lot of commie gobbledygook, didn't it? Stories
I'm thinking
presented.
about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Owen Zaleski's terrific drawing.
Yeah.
And, it's missing a little Hudson with some dynamite trying to break up the party. But then I thought, we're actually more like spy versus spy.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, where we both mutually kill each other
Except we're both the Coyote.
We're both a cruel game of cat and also cat. Yes. Yes. Man. All right. So what is gets a retweet there, Oz, by the way. Just got you, bud. Thanks for that. And thank you for putting a pipe back in my little goon's face. Goon Sona. I hate this word. I hate this word so much.
No Goonie Sattva.
Goonie Sattva, we must be released. Oh, great. Oh, man. It's It's ARX Han, because you can say ARX Han.
That ARX. Oh, that's great.
I mean, I don't know if he did. I don't think he actually did that on purpose. I think that ARX is supposed to mean Asian reactionary. But it's something that once I pointed out to him, he did not change. So
one thing, I like Han. He's a good guy. His voice modulator needs to go.
His voice modulator is a goddamn nightmare. He needs to get rid of it. Yeah.
Shout out Han, friend of the show.
I think it's because he's multiple people, actually. I think
really.
No, it's not. It's not.
Oh, why can't we have anybody really interesting?
To Dread Pirate Roberts.
Sometime? Yeah, the Dread Pirate Han. The Dread Writer Han. That'd be great.
I mean, it's unfortunate that we almost had a real Dread Pirate Roberts because they tried to start Silk Road 2, but they got caught immediately because that guy was not as careful as Ulrich. All right. The stories presented here, told by McVeigh, his cohorts, media, and government, not only support and add to Killshaw's work, but also open space to recontextualize understandings of McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombing case. Gulf lore syndrome. Let me tell you about the deep lore of the Gulf War. With the exception of Lou Johnson, who said McVeigh had some funny health problems after returning from the Gulf. Questions by the FBI and the Jones team, McVeigh's cohorts never mentioned the recurring ailments, corresponding doctors, and dentist visits noted in his military records. Similarly, there is no evidence that McVeigh knew of their ongoing issues, and if they ever discussed it with him. He seems to not have mentioned it to his attorneys, journalists who interviewed him, or biographers. However, like McVeigh, they too seem to suffer not only from psychological ailments after the war, but persistent physical ones as well, the details of which a good number of them did disclose to the Jones team. Many had developed strange symptoms linked to Gulf War syndrome, sometimes very similar to McVeigh's own. Their stories follow a similar pattern of other Gulf War veterans throughout the country. Lou Johnson said Lou Johnson said that he had ever I'm restarting. Spirit bomb. Lou Johnson said that ever since he got back from the desert, he had been having problems, including recurring rashes and an abscessed rectal canal. At the time he spoke with the Jones team, he was undergoing Saudi syndrome evaluation and waiting on the results. James Lane and Sam Stansky also developed rashes and skin bumps, similar to poison ivy. Lane said that he had bad sleep problems, had lost over 20 pounds since the war, and could not gain it back no matter what he did. Gordon Blackcloud had recurring muscle spasms, memory loss, degenerating eyesight, and his teeth were falling out. His first child miscarried, and his second died at birth with the throat pushed all the way to the side. Oh, God.
Oh, poor Gordon.
That's horrible.
Blackcloud.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to the Native American people.
For many moons, he mourned, I'm sure. Stansky's child was also born with severe birth defects and respiratory problems. That's horrible. I can't imagine how awful that would be.
Yeah.
Let's see. And yeah. Oh, and yeah, I did say Ulrich, but it's Ulbricht. Yeah, Ross Ulbricht. I goofed. It was a little goofy.
Why don't you tell the folks at home, for those who don't know, who Ross Ulbricht is?
He was the Dread Pirate Roberts who ran the Silk Road tour site where one could exchange digital currency for real world drugs, and was also subject to a sting operation and honeypot by the Federales.
Well, if you're gonna
should be released from prison.
Well, Trump said he was going to release him. Wouldn't that be great?
Did he? That he was?
Yeah, no, he announced the Bitcoin conference.
That's amazing.
It was either the Bitcoin conference or it was the Libertarian National Convention that he went to, because he went to both. He said that on day one, Ross Ulbricht would be free.
Well, allegedly, there's 100 executive orders that are getting signed day one, and we won't know for next week. But we've only got one other episode before we get to
Based
the
world.
new presidente. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe the
show is rendered irrelevant.
the show is rendered irrelevant. The government will never do anything bad ever again to people who don't have it coming. Like, oh my God. Oh, this is Ham. God damn you. Coincidentally, abscess rectal canal was the name of Pete Buttigieg's grindcore band in high school. I don't know. Actually, my favorite conspiracy theory about Pete Buttigieg is that he's straight. And he's doing it just to get ahead. Like, he's only doing it for the purposes of getting some bona fides in the DEI sense. But that it's just completely a fucking con.
I think that's, again, funny, therefore true.
He just doesn't seem as horny as most gays. He just doesn't seem. He doesn't.
You see, our first suspicions were arose when he said that he was loyal and committed to his partner.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how many? See, look, completely not a glowy FBI informant. I guess it's an FB informant. So you're
he's a Facebook informant.
He's a Facebook informant. Getting sodomized to get ahead he doesn't need
it's a strategy.
Look, people.
He's an honest liar.
Yeah, people will sleep with the boss to get ahead, right? Like, all he has to do.
His boss just happens to be Mike Obama.
Yes, big Mike Obama. All Buttigieg needs to do is find another guy, just two homies, just two bros, who were we could save a lot of money if we were roommates. We could save a lot of money if we were married. Nothing gay though, nothing gay about it. You don't you tell people you're gay because you got to keep up the facade.
He's getting his assignment, and he's like, "Really? Do you think these guys are really gonna buy a gay guy named Booty Judge?"
They elected a guy named Hussein Obama as someone born in the United States.
Barack Hussein Obama.
Yep.
It's always important to add the middle name.
Raising axolotl tank babies. God. I don't know. Are maybe Buttigieg's kids were not trafficked. Maybe they're actually his children.
They're actually his kids.
This is why this conspiracy is amazing.
Outside, as soon as the picture gets taken with them in the hospital bed, he's just like, "Get away from my kids, you sick bastard."
Yeah, if you're gonna be an incel, right? If you're gonna be fucking stone cold, right? If you're gonna be stone cold, then you should marry another stone cold dude, right? Just get all the economic benefits. Let's just make Tao, right? That's MGTOW. Make going their own way. You don't need to have
I'm a Christian man. Disavow.
Well, no. Obviously, it's not a real marriage in the same way that
maybe you can get a civil union.
Well, no,
that's between you and your creator.
You get a legal marriage, not a marriage in the eyes of God, obviously. But you just want to get the benefits. You get lower healthcare costs. You get increased standard deductions on your taxes. You get to pool your 401ks. There's all sorts of
has to hug you.
There's all sorts of economic advantages. Yeah. You get on a mortgage. You can use both of your credit on a mortgage. But if you're just going to be stone cold, just marry a bro.
It's funny because you would think that insurance premiums would go up for gay couples, considering all the prep they have to buy.
They really, honestly, Yeah, it really should. It really should. But of course, I also think that if your BMI is over like 29, you shouldn't be able to get health insurance. So, and also if you're, illegal, and also, well, actually, you know what? Honestly, with just the BMI thing is fine. Just the BMI thing is fine, unless you're pregnant. Obviously, if you're pregnant, it's different. But that would solve most of the problem. It would also solve the other overlapping demographic issues with the insurance system, by the way, just FYI. All right. But yeah, what is this? Civil Chad patriarchal union. Yes, exactly. Don't call it a marriage.
It's not gay. We're just in a civil Chad patriarchal union.
Yep. When he came out, his popularity soared. The gayest thing I saw him do was dancing next to a twink at a wedding. And who among us?
I've never seen him try to eat a hot dog.
Really?
No.
Maybe he just does it so fast.
He gets right to the Costco. He pays his $1.50 and he just scarfs it down before anybody can ask. He's like, yeah, I guess that's how they do it. I've never actually seen a gay guy eat a hot dog.
Yeah. It just happens too quick. Man, the Costco hot dogs, I swear they got bigger.
No, you just have tiny hands, Cap.
My hands are shrinking. Now that we're back in based world.
Are you telling me that Joey Chestnut, confirmed bachelor, if you know what I mean, friend of Dorothy?
Oh my God. Is he? That would be really
I have no idea. I just know that he's like the fastest hot dog eater.
I don't need
in America.
Did Kobayashi not take that crown back?
I have no idea. Would you believe that I do not pay attention to hot dog eating contests?
I wouldn't.
Most days of the year.
I can hear the cholesterol in your voice.
Cholesterol's not actually bad, thank you.
Also, I have free cholesterol in your bloodstream is bad. Dietary cholesterol is fine. But I actually here's some doxing information. I have competed in and won multiple food eating challenges. I am not a Tubby Bottom Butterkin either.
Oh my goodness, you're Tony Randall.
I'm Joey Chestnut. How could you? Yeah. All right.
All right. We got what, 20 minutes? Do we want to keep reading a little or?
Yeah. So let's see where, I don't even know where the fuck I was. Oh yeah. All the childbirth defects.
All the horrible things.
Oh, that's horrifying. God,
I feel bad for my Gordon Blackcloud joke before.
Yeah, I mean Gordon Blackcloud does seem like he's been overall a pretty stand-up guy, and his people overwhelmingly voted for Donald. So, points.
And some I assume are good people.
Many of the cohorts began to suspect that not only did the government know what had caused their deteriorating health and were actively covering up and falsely denying this knowledge to avoid having to deal with it, but worse, some began to wonder if they had been used as guinea pigs, pawns in a massive government medical experiment. Boy, I wonder what that feels like. I wonder what feeling like that. I wonder what that's like. I wonder if anyone outside of Gulf War veterans have any sort of experience with that.
Why, yes, Cap.
Perhaps things that occurred
Gulf War II veterans.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. But other than the veterans of multiple wars of the Gulf, I wonder
Afghan
if there are
war
any.
Veterans.
I can't. Man, I wish I could put my finger on it. I wish I could mention it on YouTube.
I did hear that a certain Italian doctor is going to be blanket pardoned by the 20th.
I heard that it's legal for the president to undo presidential pardons.
Really?
Just ignoring them. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great if day one certain
I'm undoing all of the pardons. And I'm opening an investigation into Hunter Biden and Dr.
That guy.
Geraldine Ferraro. It's just, yeah.
Part on, part off. That's funny.
Yes. Perfect. Yes. Part on, part off. Beautiful. Lou Johnson stated that despite the government's continued denial that either the U.S. or Iraq had used chemical warfare agents, he knew they had been exposed and thought his post-war physical problems were side effects of this. Bob Haast suspected insecticides, the fume like Zyklon B, the fumes from oil well fires, or even nerve gas.
Don't you mean Agent Orange?
But said the government would not confirm their exposure or provide further information about the possibility. He explained the government, are afraid of Gulf War syndrome. If you're talking Gulf War syndrome, you're going to get a lot of closed mouths because it's not just 10 men. You're talking about thousands right now. Tony Sykes said, I wondered if some of the problems were caused by the pills we were forced to take. We found out the pills were experimental and no one was given a choice, so we were all guinea pigs for the government. Until 1993, I was led to believe that the shots and pills were classified and not to be talked about. Blackcloud said he definitely believed that exposure to something during the Gulf War had made him sick. He wondered, like many others, if it was the experimental vaccines and drugs, some of the stuff that blew up that had come downwind during the war, his combat experience, or a combination of all these factors. James Lane said he was concerned about the anti-nerve agent pills we were ordered to take. Likewise, Sam Stansky named anthrax shots and nerve agent pills and remarked, I believe there was stuff in the used that the public is not being told about, and the government is not releasing the information. I think it's because they don't want to spend the money. I think maybe if it was the pills or the shots or the chemicals that were released over there, although they still say to this day that there were no chemicals released, but I think there was. That's stuff we're not being told. It's a little funny, speaking of, shots potentially, like, who knows, it being experimental, not fully tested, and then causing a weird cluster of symptoms. It's a little funny because the Gulf War symptom, and I don't want to say that long Gulf War syndrome, I'm not saying that it's real. I'm not saying that long 2020s Gulf War syndrome exists. I'm not saying it's real, because the people complaining about it seem to overwhelmingly be libtards. But it does kind of seem like it has the same thing as the first Gulf War syndrome list.
So I know a guy. Symptoms. I know a guy with long Gulf War syndrome illness.
Yeah.
Who is not a libtard.
Amazing.
He's a stand-up guy.
Okay.
Family man
guy, not a lay down man. Okay.
So that, and he's all messed up.
Really? He's actually fucked up with it.
Yes. So unfortunately,
and I hate to ask, vaxxed?
I actually don't know.
Okay. Oh,
possibly.
It's an important question.
Probably.
Yeah. Yep.
Although just knowing, because like he comes from a really fundamentalist Christian background, I would be surprised if he were.
Well, that's not really correlated necessarily with
the way that he would talk about things.
Okay. Yeah. Just knowing him, you would.
I don't even know if he's like taking Tylenol.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I question the medical system, but yeah, antibiotics are real,
Yeah.
Anyway, for some Gulf War veterans, the story of Gulf War syndrome was a story of conspiracy, of secret chemicals and dangerous medicines. Not everyone agreed, though. Ongoing medical investigations had yet to identify a cluster of symptoms unique to Gulf War syndrome and was not potentially related to other diagnoses. Further, as no causal chain, much less a singular cause for Gulf War syndrome had emerged, many scientists and commentators concluded that no physical syndrome exists at all. It's funny how it works for that, but it doesn't work for mental illness. But let's see. The lack of coherent medical explanation or identifiable organic epidemiology led dominant medical, government, and media establishments to dismiss Gulf War syndrome, often pejoratively, as a somatic, psychologically bound syndrome. It was all in their heads. Man, the media used to be based.
That's
Yeah.
why that's why they held International Hug a Gulf War or a Persian Gulf Person Day.
Yep. In September 1992, an editorial in the Boston Globe headlined Operation Desert Wine. Wow, fucking dickhead. That's amazing.
And then 5 years later, they exposed the pedophile priests.
Yes. Same people. Emphasized, as many experts and commentators would over the years, the Gulf War syndrome was hatched from the minds of malingering soldiers. The physical symptoms reported by Gulf War, well, Timmy maybe not beating that allegation, but the physical symptoms reported by Gulf War veterans were either wholly fabricated or expressions of their psychological pathologies. Manifestations of soldiers' anxieties more akin to PTSD than Vietnam-era Agent Orange complications. Wait, so that would mean it's real? Like, how, according to why would that make it unreal if you know?
Would you believe that the you can treat Gulf War illness with ivermectin?
Is that actually true?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
maybe.
Have they tried it?
I don't know. I've never had Gulf War illness. I wasn't in the Gulf War.
Yeah. Malingerers could be here.
I hate those guys.
I've never been to this Gulf before.
Bradley
with a Bradley, you can go wherever you want. Yes. Let's see. Manifestations more akin to PTSD than Vietnam era Agent Orange complications, although those are the exact same things people said about Agent Orange. Some liken Gulf War syndrome to an information disease, awesome, that spread not through known medical means, but as a viral meme on the internet. Yeah, or like cutting your bits off.
Based.
But as a viral meme on the internet, rumor mill, and exposure to other soldiers' accounts as reported by the media. Yeah, except internet rumor mill, but these people were having
their children were dying.
Yeah, but they were having increased rates of birth defects. So I don't know. Debate about Gulf War syndrome was a heated one. For skeptics and deniers, media reports that lent validity to soldiers' claims of failing health or did not attempt to debunk these claims and cut them off at the pass were to blame. Thus, Gulf War syndrome became just another conspiracy theory in a decade ripe with them.
We'll finish this paragraph and then we'll head out.
Well, that is the end of the paragraph.
I meant the next paragraph because I just want to shit on Reason magazine.
Sure. Reflecting the rhetorical style that often accompanied dismissals of Gulf War syndrome as a real phenomenon was a March 1997 Reason magazine article entitled "Gulf Lore Syndrome," which is
libertarians
that invited readers to step into a world where science is replaced by rumor. In this world, veterans convinced they are the victims of a conspiracy deeper and broader than anything on the X-Files claim to have skin-blistering semen and glowing vomit. Based, yes. The article compared.
That's because they slept with the lizard women.
Yes, that's so true. They got the spit genes in them. They got crossed. The wires got crossed. The article compared the commonly reported Gulf War syndrome to Elvis sightings and warned that soldiers who believed they had Gulf War syndrome would remain trapped in a world terrorized by rumors about their health until they saw reality for what it was and stopped insisting they were sick. While perhaps overstating the point, the author of the article expressed one side of the growing and highly polarizing atmosphere surrounding discussions about Gulf War syndrome during this time and throughout the next decade. All right.
Yeah, Reason magazine sucks.
All right. Well, so what do we think? What do we think, fellas? What do we think? Do we think that Gulf War syndrome is real, or do we think that it's a cognito hazard?
I think it was probably discovered at a wet market in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well known for their wet markets, right?
Yeah, because in the driest place on earth, you see a desert shrew
Well,
mated with
they're called dry markets there.
you
You know?
see a desert shrew mated with a camel, and that created a super bug that ended up getting onto a mosquito that bit Tim McVeigh.
Yes, yes. I mean, that makes sense. I can't imagine any other explanation
Hey, I
for
mean
it.
that's science.
I mean, I trust the science. You know, do you not trust the science? I trust the science.
I am a big science believer.
I always trust this. I trust the science for the algorithm. And another, okay, this is actually the base take. But Gulf War didn't happen. That never occurred. Iraq's not a real
It
place.
was just on CNN.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Moon landing happened because the New Mexico desert isn't real either. And in fact, all of the Gulf War footage was filmed on the moon.
Whoa, 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 whoa! There's a New Mexico.
There's a New Mexico. Oh my God! I thought one was enough. Um,
So we
yeah,
will now be taking your super chats for the next few
yeah.
minutes.
Any more supers you want to do? Owen Zaleski, leader, absolute hero. Love you. Thanks, bud, and thank you for the drawing as well. The island. I get. Sorry, man. I guess the Isle of Mouse. You're gonna have to wait until next week for the Isle of Mouse. It's
See,
literally the next section.
I
Actually,
can't wait.
it's
They talk
in
about
like a
Art
page and
Bell.
a
They
half.
talk about
Yeah.
Isle of Mouse. They talk about known federal informant and CIA asset guy. Bill, no, not
Guy
Bill Lear.
Fieri.
John Lear. No, John Lear.
Oh, the yeah. Anyways, the it's picking up and it's really getting into the meat of it. We need to get I think that they go into the more into the Elohim City part later
Yeah.
as
Oh yeah.
well, which is an awesome.
We're not even close to
Hey, don't
his crimes.
based based boys love intentional communities, aren't you? Right? Don't you agree? Wouldn't you agree? They everyone enjoys their intentional communities like Elohim City. But all right, yeah.
It's also getting to the point where we got to start thinking about the next book. So if you guys become top tuggers over at Tukey's Mag, you can help select the next book we read. Not really. It's just going to be what Cav and I decide.
No, I mean we do need some suggestions though, because we have some ideas, but we're definitely not set on it yet. The thing that's great about Aberration in the Heartland of the Real is that Wendy goes into, I mean, it's very well documented, it's historical, but she also doesn't just exclude things randomly, right? It's if anything, it errs on the side of being overly inclusive, which is good.
And it's also, you read something like Program to Kill and you're like, wow, this is taking a few logical leaps.
Yeah, it's like, wow, my brain is bleeding right
I don't
now.
know, maybe we'll do something more fun like Hunt for the Skinwalker or something like cryptid related.
I do have a rare cryptid book that I am supposed to be that is supposed to be arriving soon. It is let's see. I was bidding on several of them, and this is one that I got. Lake Monster Mythology. That's what it is.
Okay.
Right. And
if we can find a digital copy, I'd be down. I just want to do something a little bit more fun than because this is pretty heavy material.
Oh, sorry, it's Lake Monster Traditions, a cross-cultural analysis.
Oh, nice. We're going to learn about Nessie and Champ and Ogopogo.
Yeah, and they and I mean that's one option. We don't need to do that. We could also do although it is not very, I don't know, it's really good, but it's not very historical. John Keel's The Mothman Prophecies.
Oh, I love that book.
It's a fucking great book. I mean, it's written in a like semi-novelistic form, although also being passed off as journalism. But you know, like I don't know.
I think
It's
we could have a
basically
good
a
time with
novel.
it.
It's basically a novel. No, it's fucking great. Like it's super fun. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know.
But definitely something more in that vein. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And David also said he had some options for David also said he had some options for the Founders Cult, but I don't know if I wanted. It's really
one. It's the Finders Cult, and
oh,
two,
Finders Cult. That's right.
well, I think we'll do like a heavy sandwich. So it'd be heavy with this book, then light with the next one, then heavy for the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The problem is that if you do the weave, then you get whiplash. And I mean, these all take so long. These all take a long time anyway. But I don't know. Well, we have many cool options. So give us your suggestions
and money.
when you feel like it. Yeah, right. Well,
money, please.
All right, like, subscribe. See you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Good night, America.
Oh, and also, it is taking off on Spotify, so please listen to it over there. Give us a good rating, and we'll see you next time.
We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. Good night.